Listen up, Gotham.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Hi, Buttons. It's me, Harley Quinn.
This is Batman.
This is Robin.
Tune into the Bat Fanatic podcast.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
The Bat Fanatic Podcast.
The Bat Fanatic Podcast with Sammy Warm Hands.
With Sammy Warm Hands.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast. Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
Although, Sam, you might think about changing the name.
Hey everybody, it's the Dark Knight of Rap, Sammy Warm Hands, and this is the Bat Fanatic Podcast. As always, I'll be joined by my good friends and co-hosts, Ben and Evan. I'd like to shout out our Season 3 sponsor, TNK Comics and Collectibles. You can follow on Instagram for claim sales at The Nando Knight, K-N-I-G-H-T, or on shortboxed.com/TNK Comics. Now, we are following Lego Batman with another ridiculous and funny property that you may or may not recognize. And we've got a special treat at the very end of the episode, a bonus mini review that kind of mirrors the true life of off-screen Adam West. This is Batman the Movie. Immediately after this, I'm going to see Metallica in the movie theater a second time.
Some kind of monster?
Great. No, not that one.
A Fathom event?
Similar to that. A lot of bands have done it over the years, but I like when a band will live stream one of their shows in the theater. They're playing like 34 songs over 2 nights.
Huh.
I went on Friday, and I'm going to go tonight. Because I bought tickets for the tour, but they're not going to be here till next August. So
Is it here or the Gateway one?
I only go to Gateway, Cinemark.
Plus, you can kick
That's
your
the
feet up.
I went to see the Batman at like an early IMAX screening at Regal. It was the only place to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I cannot believe people still sit in these little ass seats. Like, this is some old fashioned shit.
Especially if you have a large person on either side. I mean, I'm not even like that large, but my arms are wide enough where I'm like, I have to do this weird thing where I kind of lean forward and hold my arms. And then
Well, even if I'm in one of the recliners, like at Cinemark the other day, booked it out perfectly. Like, okay, there's a buffer here. There's only seats at the very end. No one sits over there, right? Family of 5 walks in late, sits right next to me. I'm like, God damn it. So I'm next to all these kids. And the kid's like taking off his shoes and socks and he's wiggling all around. And he's like sprawled off of his recliner onto mine. I'm like, good God, man, get the fuck away from me.
hey, idiot, control your children.
I am the guy to yell at people in the theater, for sure.
I had one of my I remember it with such satisfaction and fondness of walking in to like a full movie theater, and it's when they're assigned seats. So we walk in,
yeah,
and there's like a family sitting in our seats,
and
just standing there. I think these are our seats.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what? Yeah. Like, yeah. Just standing there, just waiting for you to get the fuck out of my seat.
That only happened to me once, and he moved somewhere else. It happened to him again, and I'm wondering, did he just sneak in?
Or he just got bad seats. It's like, oh, so whatever I want.
Yeah,
It's my world.
Sorry, dude, it's not the 90s anymore.
Also, I hate you.
But, I mean, I bite my tongue a lot, but I'll be sitting there like, oh, you motherfucker, you better shut the... I swear to God, one more scene, if you talk through one more fucking scene, I'll be like right next to someone just like, death glare. Hi.
You always have to balance out, like, do you... Like, make it worse for everyone. Oh, whatever. We're not here for very long anyway. Do you make it worse for everyone in exchange for calling them out? And usually I err on the side of not doing it, but sometimes I'm just like, hey,
Yeah.
really?
Really is a good one because it's not like...
How stupid are you?
It's not like
you thought this was okay?
It's not like shut the fuck up or something like that. It's just like,
Think.
yo, mirror, look in it.
But then at that point, even if you say that, everyone's like, why is that guy interrupting our movie by shouting really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like him.
Why did you say really to that scene? I thought that scene was great. I hate having... There's pros and cons, but I've been on a Monday through Friday schedule.
Monday through Friday schedule on this monkey fighting plane.
I have had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
For a while now. One of the only things I like to do outside of this house is go to movies. And it really sucks that I don't get to go on like a fucking Tuesday afternoon again when no one's fucking there. I only wind up going on the weekends nowadays, and it fucking blows. There's always the annoying rowdy people or the kids. You brought your kids to The Exorcist? Or like whatever it is. It's just like, I never thought I would encounter a minor child in this scenario.
In this day and age, there's no reason why even you person who, for some terrible reason, has 3 children, can't afford a 55-inch TV. You can get one brand new at Walmart. Watch movies at home. Because that's always the answer is like, you don't know what it's like to have kids. You can't go out. Babysitters are expensive. You got to take them with you to this adult sexual thriller. It's very important. My wife and I don't get any time for this.
Yeah, we just really wanted to see Basic Instinct. And kids have got to learn about anatomy somewhere.
May as well be sharing stuff.
Wow. Here we are. It is episode 66. So naturally, we decided to do Batman 89 again.
Okay, you did this. Oh, yeah.
Episode 66 of what? Where am I?
The Butt Fanatic Podcast.
You guys realize I pre-tape the intros, right?
But I want some kind of introduction, too.
So you planned this? You did this on episode 66 on purpose?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
I felt like we didn't have a choice.
Smartest man in the world.
Well, thank you.
If we were ever going to do
play it back regularly.
You're the smartest. You're the
Anytime
smartest.
I feel down.
I'm going to listen to that at night on repeat.
Yeah, just when I go to bed
You're
even.
the smartest man in the world. I love you.
People listen to affirmation tapes, right? It helps when it's someone that you know.
Yeah. Lisa needs braces. You're the smartest man I know. Lisa needs braces.
Dental plan.
I am the smartest man alive!
For a smart guy, you really are a dumbass.
All right, so this is Batman the movie, 1966, directed by Leslie M. Martinson, written by Lorenzo Semple Jr., starring Adam West, Burt Ward, Lee Merriweather, not Julie Newmar, who played her on the show at the time.
And Eartha Kitt at some point, too.
Later seasons,
Okay.
yes. Cesar Romero, Burgess Meredith, Frank Gorshin, Alan Napier, and Neil Hamilton. Now, this is amusing to me. Composed by Nelson Riddle.
Who's an amazing,
Perfect.
legendary arranger and just like works with some of the greatest artists of all times. When I saw that on there, I was
And
like,
this.
that's amazing. Yeah, and this.
I didn't know that.
But that gave me an idea of immediately at the beginning of the movie, in addition to the Batman walks out into a spotlight and then casually shrugs and walks, that combined with Nelson Riddle doing the music, I'm like, okay, now I know what level this movie is at, how much money they spent on it. Like, that seems like a big deal to have him do the music to your movie.
Was it just for the movie or was it for the show in general?
I'm not sure.
The Batman theme from this era.
Yeah.
Part of me was hoping that one of you would get confused and just be like, okay, I've watched like 5 episodes of this show. How many am I supposed to, how many are we reviewing?
Episode 66, right?
The Catwoman thing is interesting, the recasting, because there's interesting accounts of this movie in the timeline because it came out while the show was on the air.
That's
It was
what I
a
didn't
big
realize.
hit,
I
right?
thought this was like the show
But-
ended and then a year later this came out.
Yeah, me too. But no, it came out while the show was on the air, but it was actually supposed to come out first, and then the show was supposed to follow as like a spin-off, like, oh, you've seen the big movie, and now you get to watch it every week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was very interesting reading that and like the timeline of Julie Newmar had another obligation already, and so she couldn't do this film, but she was signed on to do the show, and so they got somebody else to do the movie. Newmar's other project ended up not getting made, so she could have done it in the first. Like, there's just, it's so fucking weird. But
Was it actually filmed before the show started filming and then they just didn't release it before?
I don't know about the filming dates. I just know it was their intention, I guess, to do it the opposite and have the film come first.
Funny.
I thought that was kind of neat because I looked it up. Nelson Riddle did do the music of the show also. But,
Okay, cool.
Well, he didn't write the theme song. He just did the music for the show.
Oh, okay.
So a man
Okay.
named Neil Heftree, or I already put my phone away. I don't know how to say it, but Heftree or Neil Heftree
Got it.
did the theme song.
Heifer from Rocco's
That's
Modern Life
what I'm picturing as I'm saying that.
did
Hero.
the theme song.
Rocco.
I was just thinking in the sense of, I mean, because we take it for granted now, like all the weird media landscape of like television and movies, and television's better than movies now anyway, even though the theater experience is better. But like what that would have been like in the 60s as a kid to like watch Batman on TV and then go to the theaters and see it.
Oh, yeah.
I bet it was awesome. It looks good even watching it now.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing is I was watching the special features documentary about it. The big selling point of the show was that it was in color. And that's part of the reason that the intro was the animated thing that was so bright and colorful. The costumes are so bright and colorful and all this shit is because this
sets.
was the beginning of color television. And so a lot of people didn't have them yet. They watched the TV show in black and white. They go to the movie theater, and bam, everything's in
Their heads explode.
it's huge and it's in color, right? And so I think the experience must have just been wild at the time. And we were alive for the '89 Batmania.
Well, I saw this in
marketing
theaters when I was a
craze.
child, but yeah.
Of course, yeah. Ben's a little older than the rest
He's
of us.
past and future Ben.
But I mean, it was incomparable, the level of hype and marketing around Batman '89. We've talked about that before. But it's kind of crazy that for this character, it happened multiple times because it was massive for this show. When you think about, what are the 3 networks?
Yeah.
And this is like the biggest show or one of the biggest shows at the time. I mean, that's fucking huge. The viewership to that versus like the biggest Netflix show is going to be, monumentally more.
Yeah, this is when people said, like, I'm going to watch television. They meant, like, this.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, what are you watching tonight? It's like, oh, I turned on the TV.
Yeah. It's like,
I'm
I can't come
watching this.
over because at 6:30,
Totally.
Batman's on.
Or there's like so little going on or so few options that this is what you tune to. Like people listening to the radio in the past, like this is a big deal. Everybody is gathering around the radio.
I thought
or the
about that
television.
it was different with the villains and maybe a little different with Adam West, but I thought about like Burt Ward. Like, what's that like when you're like a young actor and you're in this, especially for this era, massively
cultural
successful
phenomenon.
known thing, but like you especially maybe don't have the chops to deliver this kind of ridiculous material. And so for the rest of your life, you're Robin from
Known
that
for
show.
that. Yeah. Yeah, known for the first thing you ever did.
Which a huge portion of the population saw. They'll always remember you for that.
Yeah.
I remember getting really upset when MCA died, and everyone was like showing their respect with fucking, they talk about License to Ill. Everyone was talking about License to Ill. I'm like, I mean, I know the cultural significance of that album. I really, really do. First #1 rap album. Big deal. And I don't mean that facetiously. It's
Big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah, guys.
No,
I make #1 rap albums all the time.
But like, it's fucking massive in the history of hip hop culture. But it really got me of like, these guys had one of the most storied and unique evolutions to their career and their body of work. Commercial failures that become cult classics, in the genre, and then to completely reinvent their sound a third time and get cultural success again and mainstream popularity and like all these things that they went through. But like everyone just knew him as that drunk kid on TV when he was like a Buddhist monk, completely different person. And so, and not just like recently, but like a Buddhist monk since like 1994. But everyone's like, oh yeah, in 1987.
You like to party, hell yeah.
Yeah, he spit the beer with the camera, that guy. And so you're absolutely right that they definitely have this association forever.
And it makes a little more sense with Adam West. But like with Burt Ward, I think of like he's Robin, and then he's a 40 or 50-year-old man guest starring on TV shows as Burt Ward, who played Robin in the 60s.
Yeah.
What I was surprised at is that
He probably did a lot of theater. That's
Cesar
the thing.
Romero was old by this time.
He'd already done it.
He was in his 50s.
Well, I think of that with the villains in general, because I mean, spoiler, I think the villains stole this movie. Like they all chewed the scenery, the perfect level, the physical aspect of their performance. They just like really nailed it. And I think about that in the same way we think about the villains in like the Jack Nicholson or those guys. Like they brought people who are already capable of hitting the material with the right tone and the right energy versus again, like a teenager. Here's your big break.
Sure.
You're going to say, holy wow, Batman. Like,
But also, he was like 30.
Burt Ward was 30.
I don't know.
Just
I mean,
a small man.
there were not. I don't think it was until the last 10 years that people had actually cast teenagers for teenager roles.
Maybe in his 20s, but
like, I rewatched the American Pie movies recently. The high school students is like, oh yeah, I'm 28. Cool.
Yeah.
The best one is Joe Manganiello in Spider-Man.
Yeah. I was like, holy shit! I didn't know he was in this.
Or Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so as you mentioned, opens with this cool James Bond title sequence, and then we get a montage of Bruce and Dick at Wayne Manor, and then suiting up, hopping in the Batcopter, and passing by all these supporters on the ground, from bikini girls partying to cops tipping their hats, and then the older couple picnicking in the park.
Gives you that good feeling when you see them up there. You know that feeling you get? Yeah, they're going out there to do their job.
You're like, I think Ben's getting a different feeling than we are.
This couple,
No, there was like a real underlying like America boner through this this whole movie.
And that was Jack LaLanne on the rooftop. So Jack LaLanne was a famous fitness guy.
Oh,
and he was all like, doing like push-ups where you put your arms and legs out and like lift your body by your fingertips. He like pulled a tugboat, swam across the river holding it in his teeth or something like that. But there's just a shot of him on the roof with the bikini models. And that's
cameo.
Like they just,
that's great.
Jack, you want to be in this movie?
Now, my first thought after the opening credits with a lot of shadows and light, the spotlight chasing them and all this kind of stuff, everything from here on in is broad daylight. Every single shot is broad daylight, sunny days, clear skies.
This is like Gotham City, California, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's not
This
in the
is
Midwest.
Gotham
It's
City,
full on West Coast.
Warner Brothers lot.
Originally a Spanish colony.
Here already is the famous shark repellent scene. Batman tries to lower himself from the Batcopter onto a yacht below and winds up attacked by a shark. Robin descends the ladder to hand him the shark spray, and we never see them accomplish anything here, only get rewarded for it immediately after. They spray the shark, and then it just kind of hard cuts to them in like a press conference kind of ceremony.
Why did that shark blow up?
And it blows up,
That poor creature must have ate a mine.
I until they told me what was going on, the boat disappears, and I was like, "What the fuck?" and then and when the shark even gets on him in the first place, like, yay! And then when it blows up, I was like, "What the fuck again?"
Yeah.
And
I guess I should ask, when's the last time either of you guys saw this movie, or have you seen this?
I saw this as a child.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
There's
Though
two
I did
things
grow
I
up
remember
watching
from
the
this
show.
movie.
Though.
Well,
What were
I'll
they,
say
babe?
them when we get there, but because there's only two visual things that stuck with me.
Okay, yeah. I watched the 60s stuff a bit when I was little, but, when Burton movies were coming out and then the animated series, like, eventually kind of just wasn't really on my
You became
radar.
a grimdark person.
Yes.
So then you only
Yes.
want to consume grimdark media.
I just don't have formative memories of it, aside from, watching it on TV a little bit.
Well, I was excited because after all those years of only being able to watch it in black and white at
you
home
can finally
on
see
the
it in
TV.
color.
Yeah, yay.
But I did buy this movie a while back. Came across a cheap copy on Blu-ray, thinking like, oh, eventually we'll get to this on the show. But I did watch it at the time, and so I've seen it once as an adult, maybe last year or something.
With
like
probably,
that.
I would venture the wrong mindset.
Just because it's me.
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, were you being a hater or were you having fun?
It was one of those nights I'm like, I don't know what to watch. I'm like, I never opened this one. I'll pop that in there. And I wasn't happy. You're right. You're 100% right.
Where's the commentary on like justice and vengeance and split personalities?
Where's the
and,
psychology of this character?
Yeah.
childhood trauma?
Yeah, there's zero indication of trauma here.
Other than the way he dresses and acts.
No, that's that's
If we were to do the
uncommented on.
trifecta,
It's a kink thing.
this Batman is quite a detective, though.
That's his main thing.
Are you going to get it on 4K now that you're updating your collection?
Oh, it doesn't exist. Like, the only things I've bought on Blu-ray are things that don't exist on 4K because I skipped that whole generation. So I'm going like straight from DVD to whatever the highest quality is now.
Your player should upconvert too, though.
Yeah,
It'd make
it
Blu-rays
does.
look better.
Yeah, it upscales it. See how I corrected you subtly?
Yeah.
Dick move.
Robin's descending on the bat ladder.
Yeah.
And at first I thought, like,
Who's flying?
Yeah, he's
The
really
Batcomputer,
he's
guys,
really
come on.
shaky for a trapeze artist.
That's true.
And but then he gets down to the bottom and he doesn't just like reach down and he backwards bends. Oh yeah, that's sweet little move.
I actually
okay,
thought
you
that
are
was a
pretty
weird cut, too. I just remember at the time, like, the position he's in, then when they cut to the close-up shot lower on the ladder, he was in a totally different position as he's handing it to him.
I also felt like there were some really cool shots already. However, they're capturing the helicopter. I don't know how you're pulling this stuff off already.
It's very creative, especially for its time.
Yeah,
in
you
general-
just have this cool stuff where like the boat's down on the surface of the water, and then you kind of seeing the helicopter from like a 3/4 from the back, and it all looks super cool to me.
I mean, I've been watching some 70s movies in the past week or two, and I'll say that this being several years earlier, is actually got a lot more, I guess, production value just in the terms of
but like artistic style and skill.
The cuts don't feel as clunky, where it'll go from like quiet dialogue scene to loud party. Like what the fuck was that?
Well,
man?
even the cut from the exploding shark to the press conference was a hard, fast cut, but it still felt great. And I love it because we didn't like sit and look at the water for a minute like you would in a modern movie of like transparent fade to the next scene. It's just like hard cut, press conference.
Sure, but it seemed deliberate. Whereas like sometimes it just seems like when I'm watching movies from that era that it'd be like, well, the scene ends and then we're somewhere else now, and there's no transition at all. And additionally, I know people complain about like film grain and stuff like that, which doesn't bother me for older movies because that's kind of the aesthetic of the time, right? But like this looks really clean, and I granted a lot of it's fucking broad daylight, so you can
imagine if this movie was like in dark alleys at night.
Yeah, it would probably look terrible.
Yeah,
but
unless it was shot like an actual noir movie, then it could have been good. But
sure.
Whatever.
But I mean, I just mean to say that for as silly and whatever as it is to a modern eye, these guys are doing a really good job.
To me, in the film itself, just looks like what people try to replicate now by applying like style or filter or like post to something, like it looks so good that it looks like now-ish if you were also putting like a warm tone treatment on the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think about it when you look at just from a style perspective of like, if people are going to talk about the hero movies and the Marvel movies of the past 15 years, it's like, oh yeah, they have to have these kind of quippy jokes every few minutes, regardless of how dangerous the situation is or what the stakes are like that.
How sad this deathbed scene is.
Now you get a wisecrack about.
Guess he won't be late to the next party.
Oh, Thor. Where this is that in that same way of like this has that kind of wacky 60s feel. But like as a genuine strength of the movie.
Yeah. The whole time I couldn't get it out of my head and I was tripping out on the thought that like, are they just doing what they're doing and I just think it's hilarious? Or are they like self-aware that they're doing all of this crap on purpose and they're that smart?
100%.
Oh,
yes.
Man.
I mean, the disclaimer at the beginning of the movie put me in the mindset.
They're like, this is for fun lovers and crime fighters.
People
and
who love the bizarre and the ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true.
You go smoke grass with your friends and then you go watch Batman in the movies and you
look, I don't want to know what you guys did before you watched this movie. Just what you saw on the screen, okay?
Well, as long as we can all agree that drinkers are the worst and alcohol is the bane of our cultural existence.
Man, we're going to lose half our audience now.
That was the one time where I was like, Sam is Robin in this.
Yeah, I quoted that line at some point in my notes here. But here we go. At the press conference, which is completely absurd, a Russian woman asks Batman to remove his mask for a photo. Nice try, lady. And we explain to the audience how secret identities work.
So they can be ace crime fighters.
Yes. Then Robin says, support your police. And Batman concurs.
100% propaganda. Or like her Russian name. Like, they're doing that on purpose, right? Because I think that's hilarious.
Yes.
She has 6 names. They're doing that on purpose.
This is subversive. All the stuff about alcohol is subversive. I mean, like, yeah, drinkers do suck. As a drinker, they suck.
Well, yeah.
But it's a joke.
As a man who off-screen is living quite the wild lifestyle, I'm going to, in character, tell you never to be like me.
Yeah.
But one thing I wondered watching this, I know we're not really getting into the story yet, but how much in terms of like, okay, the propaganda lens here, how much of this, because this is 60s counterculture, right, and the show's flirting with those things, but it's also very much working with the police and it's law and order and
All
it's
America,
do the right thing. And
this is for children.
Exactly. And it makes me wonder, like, with the, the hippies and their grass smoking and all these peace and love beatniks and their weird shit, like, are they painting, the villains in these exceedingly wacky, unrelatable ways and then keeping the heroes all very straight-laced and very, it's a thing you could do for any story for contrast, right? The push and pull between these two sides. But like, just the little things they put in there makes me kind of wonder, like, is this in any way symbolic of the establishment and the counterculture at that time?
Yeah, I couldn't help but think like the chicken or the egg here. Like,
Yeah.
is
The egg,
this,
you mean
is
the
this,
perfect shape for anything?
Oh
in
my
the
God! Yeah,
container of life?
I wish that I would have
Talking about Evan's head?
No. Yeah, he has that line. It was that was like the prime
An egg.
example of
Yes.
The carrier of
one of
life,
those
the perfect shape and container for all
His
new
riddles are fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's the riddles are exactly what I mean in the sense of like treating the riddles as if like, oh, obvious only answer to this nonsense is
Which
this
is the
nonsense.
Yeah, yeah,
dumbest
and this
thing.
is
You can
how
play
those two
completely
stupid
straight.
things.
Like that's
Yeah.
the entire movie, and like
Yeah.
what you're talking about with that of where I feel like it is trying to play both sides, which is probably what Hollywood was doing in that era. Because
That
you have a bunch of
could
creative
very
types,
well
but
be.
also it's business, and they're trying to sell, and they're trying to sell to people who look at things differently. So it's like it's all of the above.
That could be that they sort of want to appease the studios throwing the money at it, and oh look, we got all these good messages, and like okay, then we can get away with all this weird shit over
Yeah,
here.
the people who are turning on to the one of 3 channels
Yes.
in Iowa, you want to make sure they keep watching.
Yeah.
And it could be said for like anything of this time, because we have the benefit of being like years and years down the road and seeing how culturally they were like sneaking, the government or whomever were like sneaking these things into our subconscious. I couldn't help but wonder, is this born of the time, or is this the time trying to get the present day to resemble this stuff by placing it in front of people? Like
art imitate life, life imitate art kind of
yeah,
thing.
like which is this? Yeah, exactly. Like is this because
Where they're like,
this
you
is
need
really
to-
how shit was?
People are angry at the cops right now. So you need to have a line at the beginning of this movie where they explicitly say, support your police. That's
Yeah.
the important thing. Or was it like,
yeah.
Yeah, make the hero say it too.
Yeah.
Is this how people think and feel, or is this what you're trying to get
What
the
you want
people
them
to
to
think and
start
feel
thinking?
by presenting them with this stuff?
I think it's both. For that same
Well,
reason.
that
'cause they're
wasn't one of
trying
the options, man.
They're Jimmy Fallon because there's people who fucking hate Jimmy Kimmel and wish he would die because he is open about his
More liberal,
left-leaning
more left,
politics,
yeah.
right? And then there's Jimmy Fallon who is softball with everybody.
And they toss
I don't,
up Donald Trump's hair on the show.
yeah. And I don't mean this as a critique on him because I like him and I like that show, but I know that it's a big dividing line of like, here's the safe, cuddly guy, and then here's the intellectual show who's gonna actually challenge your thoughts a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
use the platform in that way instead of like just pure entertainment.
Exactly. And so I think this is probably kind of the Jimmy Fallon where it's like, well, just a little bit everybody in here, you know?
Yeah.
You can watch it with your grandparents, you know? All right, so Batman says that the yacht they were following was a diversion. And he asks, which super criminals are still on the loose? As if either Gordon or Batman wouldn't be the first person to know that.
Let's
Well,
ask the
did you lock him
computer.
up? No, I thought you locked him up. I didn't lock him
Oh,
up. I thought you locked him up.
shit.
Ah, fuck, that must be out.
I thought she was with you. And so we introduce every villain on the TV screen.
Were those clips from the show when they were all together, or was that like just shot on a soundstage somewhere for this
Well,
movie?
it couldn't have been because Lee Merriweather wasn't on the show. So it had to have been just for this.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Did I come
Yeah.
on too strong there?
I just seeing them. What I thought was later. later, later in the movie, we were going to see a scene where they were like in a TV studio in front of those curtains. They're like, oh, okay, they used the thing from the end at the beginning. But nope.
The Russian woman, we follow her back, and she enters the back room behind a rowdy bar that is revealed now that she is Catwoman. There's henchmen, and inside is Penguin, Riddler, and the Joker, and they're all bickering over what went wrong. I wonder if this may have been more effective to gradually reveal the villains, because they're just kind of always all there.
It would have made for a better story, but this movie isn't about that. The movie is just watching these people chew the scenery.
So
So like,
here's some crazy shit.
Yeah,
Here's some more crazy shit.
we're going to introduce them to you on this TV screen to remind you who these people are, and then we're just going to see them in the next scene.
Yeah.
And it's already decently long without
Yeah,
trying
it's,
to add that in.
it's like an hour and a half long.
yeah.
It's an hour and 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of
When she gets into the bar, which looks like a place that I would legit hang out. And
They have like life rafts on there. It's a very
the dudes
sailor
are
bar.
fine.
Pirates punching each other.
Yeah, it's so cool. She comes up the stairs. There's Goon guarding the door, and he's like,
Quanchi or Poncho
Hey,
or something like
Catwoman.
that.
yeah. He's like, hey,
Quinch.
Catwoman. And she's like, don't use my real name.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I did like that wording of it. Though, 'cause that's
Like,
very
you-
Batman.
yeah, that you actually think that's you?
Damn straight. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
her true self.
It's cool.
On the real yacht, the captain of the ship, Commodore Schmitlap, is served a meal by the Joker. He is unaware, and we follow Joker as he walks out of the room. He's unaware that he is not at sea, and he's unaware that this is the Joker. He's just like, boy, your ghastly complexion, you a bit seasick or some shit like that, you know? And like this guy through the movie continues to be oblivious to everything happening around him. But like they walk out of this room and there's just a guy making tugboat sounds
So funny.
and like
He's
pushing a
like
little
using his foot to pull the screen up and down with the ocean.
over
on
the
it.
ocean. Yeah. I'm like, because I thought they were at first because they don't show the guy, and he does that like, and I'm like, are they making a joke? Because I didn't really. And then they move outside, and it's like, oh, this is dude doing that
It's
right
the boat
there.
sounds. I don't know what a Commodore does, but
It's like a high rank in the Navy.
okay,
a
but he's
toilet,
not.
right?
But he's not actually. Yeah,
Can I use the Commodore,
yeah,
please?
a Commodore.
Oh right, no, I'm thinking of the video game system. That's what it is. Right.
Toilet 64.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming he doesn't
Administer
steer.
the Navy.
He's not
No.
steering the boat.
No. And I feel like it's
because I would think that the first thing that he would notice is the fact that he just hasn't left the room
Yeah.
of what he presumes is the boat. He just has not left
He
the
just
room
pisses
in
and
X amount
shits in
of time.
there and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's high enough rank you don't concern yourself with that stuff.
Yeah,
Bigger
regardless.
things.
Yeah, wherever he is,
I
he's
feel
not
like-
set foot on the other side of this door.
Now that we're talking about it more, he is a character that could have just gone away. It just not been in this movie.
Yeah, what's
Also,
the-
were they saying that this is his invention?
Yeah, so he's
Also,
not currently
he's
in
the
the Navy.
He's a
He's-
Commodore
He
scientist.
runs a whiskey business or something like that.
Why is it a distillery that created this thing?
Yeah, why did that have to be the reason for a dehydration gun? That's all just to get to we have a dehydration gun.
Yeah, what does that have to do
their-
with distillation?
Yeah, their genius way of doing it was like, oh, there's a world-changing invention that's been made, and it's a instant whiskey maker.
Because they're a bunch of drunks. That's why.
the
bunch of
worst
drugs.
All the
people.
writers and everyone involved
Writing.
in this,
Yeah.
they're like, what's important? Alcohol. What do people like? Alcohol. Okay, let's talk about that.
Let's write it
Yeah.
in.
Bunch of drunks and drug addicts telling kids not to do it.
Yeah, support your cops, man.
At the Bat Cave, Batman realizes that the vanishing yacht was a holographic projection from a buoy in the water. We cut to the Batmobile and then the Bat boat while they search for the real yacht.
I love the vehicles in this.
Yeah.
Oh man, in the first like 2 minutes, they give you all of them.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
copter,
You know.
man, so much stuff.
and not knowing what the context is
It's
for
toyetic, guys.
pre-toyetic, actually.
I
That's,
know.
in academia, that's what we call it.
I don't know what
Right.
that means.
Yeah.
What the context was for the character, but it's easy to look at this like the way you look at Lego Batman, the way you specifically look at Lego Batman.
He's
and
pointing
being
at
like,
me, guys.
Don't be mean to Batman. Don't make fun of it. Stop it. But remembering that this is, what is that, 20-something years before the Batman we know took hold in pop culture. Obviously, in comics, it had been leaning
Yeah.
into that in the 70s
And this
80s.
is pre like Denny O'Neil and all that.
Yeah, so
70s.
and I would think in the 60s comics had this kind of element, but like in many ways this is not the Batman we know and like, but it also is
at all. Yeah.
the idea that he's ready for every situation, that he has all these gadgets, like
He
it's
knows
played
every
as
answer no matter how
it's played
obscure.
as a joke, but I mean it's all there and it's not making fun of the Batman we like because that one didn't exist yet. Like that in the sense grew out of this.
Well, it did and it
Sure.
didn't because I remember reading that people say that. No, I do remember reading that there was some
Do your own
backlash or some
research.
disappointment anyway that this movie was, or this show rather, was so big in pop culture that it began to make the comics silly like this show.
It's not the
And
Batman
so-
with guns from the 30s, which was probably dark and serious,
Yeah.
serious as it could be.
Mobster
But
stuff.
From what I remember, there was a big sort of overflow into the books, and that picked up a lot of new readers because that's what they associated with the character. But I think it also lost some people for a bit until the Neil Adams era where everything sort of gets serious again.
I mean, it's not hard to see how it might be connected, though, anyways, because somebody comes along and they think that this doesn't make sense and it should be the opposite of this. So born out of that silliness is like a need for the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it's
so people
Schumacher versus Nolan. I mean, it's sort of a pendulum swing. You know,
see somebody who watched this as a kid who then grew up to want more serious stories and create more serious stories, but still like this is the prime like visual template for the character and what the world looks like in their head.
Sure,
that's what I was thinking. I mean, because what that would look like, and it would be neat, but I don't know how they would do it. Is like what the Watchmen movie looked like, or what Peacemaker or Suicide Squad. Or even maybe The Boys, where like they retain the look from the comics, but it's played as a look how fucking ridiculous these people are.
Yeah,
where
you still have flashy costumes and stuff, and that
you're like
dumb.
Weird,
Shazam,
overly violent people. Yeah, what would that would look like? What if you had a Batman story in the way that the comics can do because they live in that space where things aren't quite real?
Yeah,
if you could tell a serious like the Robert Pattinson Batman, but everything looked like this. Not played as a joke. Like, colors were bright.
He's Frank Miller beating the crap out of people, but he's wearing that blue costume.
Or like how we joked
like
about
Dick Sprang.
Yeah.
We joked about with the like, you know, my love of neon and the 80s revival and Drive and all that stuff. Like a movie like that, like a gritty, violent movie that had a lot of color and like weird style choices that were not played as a joke.
Like Alex Ross, you know, costume store, batsuit.
Yeah. Chunky man, but you know, he beats people up.
Yeah.
Maybe it just doesn't work.
Played
in
by
live
John
action.
Goodman. I wanted to mention, because we've talked before about, let's say, you mentioned Tommy Lee Jones earlier, you know, how he sort of was like doing the Joker as Two-Face, but also copying the Riddler that's in the scene with him. And
what were we talking about when we were, or
when
what
did
were we
that come
watching?
out?
What were we watching?
We'll get to that.
All right.
It's a surprise. But this penguin speaks like the Riddler to me. He's always alliteration, always.
Every one of these characters, and this was my question, having not really seen the other stuff, if I had to guess based on this movie what these characters were from the show, they are all the same guy, but they just have like, I'm a clown, so my gags are clown-based, and I'm a penguin, so my gags are bird-based. I like riddles, but otherwise they're all exactly the same. They have no different outlook on society or what their goal is, or Batman. They're just the same guy.
Well, yeah, they all work together in perfect harmony. Like, I mean, they argue and whatever, but they're not like, but my real plan was to...
I want to sow chaos. No, I want to steal the money. No, I just want to be smart. It's like, no, they're just bad guys who are very theatrical and like puns and poems. And,
they're a bunch of musical theater kids.
They're sad boys.
From the wrong side of the tracks. You know. From what we now know is a submarine, the penguin monitors the buoy through a penguin periscope.
I love everything about all of this stuff.
The set design on this movie is really good. He activates a magnet when Batman and Robin arrive. So they climb up on the buoy, they're trying to figure out this hologram projection thing, and then they get stuck to it from their utility belt. Once stuck to the buoy, the submarine fires torpedoes. Batman uses some kind of scrambling device to throw off the torpedoes, and then the batteries die.
The batteries.
Yes, and the last one makes impact, but it's off screen. It kind of cuts away. And then we see them in the bat boat escaping. And
cruising along.
And we get this bit of dialogue where the torpedo hit a dolphin or something.
It sacrificed itself to noble.
Yeah, the nobility of the almost human porpoise.
So it just happened to be passing by or something, and
I had to go back because I was having breakfast, and I was
like, "What the fuck did he just say?"
Yeah, I was like, "Well, I looked away."
Cheerios.
No, it wasn't that. I was like, "Oh, I must have missed that," and I did that like 2 or 3 times because I was talking to my girlfriend, and I was like, "I missed it
shark
again."
Explode?
Yeah, and then I went back and finally like really stared at the screen for that whole thing. Like, no, I didn't miss anything. It was not shown.
Batman's like, that's true, Robin. The noble creature gave his life for ours. I'm like, I don't think that's how it went down. You guys are just blowing up marine life right and left here.
And that those dogs would fight for our entertainment. The nobility of their sacrificing themselves for us. Wow.
Delivering these lines would be... I'd like to see bloopers.
The bloopers,
yeah. I'd love to see bloopers from this stuff.
Like, what the hell is this shit? What am I saying?
Batman calls Admiral Fangschlitzer. Is that right? Admiral Fangschlitzer.
Spell it.
and asks if he sold any submarine warships recently.
Oh,
Again, this man has to go check. Let me put you on hold. I'm not sure.
this is one of those things that's funny to me because on one hand they're like singing the praises of the police and stuff, but then in this,
And he's like, "You dumb bastard!
They're the
Yeah,
biggest buffoons in
you
the world.
You sold this shit to someone without even a proper address."
A P.O. box. He has a fantastic line at the end of that where he goes, "I didn't do anything wrong, did I?" And Batman's like, well, "I don't know." And
He
then
just hangs up.
And then there's just a shot of the Admiral and he's like, "Gosh." And then cut.
Batman has some like burn at the end of
Yeah.
like, I can't remember what it is, but he's counting on the fact that the recipient is so dumb that it won't even land.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's actually like a scorcher.
This movie
Still-
just has it out for the Navy, not cops.
Yeah, it's just somebody
The
has a
military,
vendetta.
though.
Yeah.
I got a bone to pick with you. I wanted to ask Evan. I know you watch with subtitles, and I've had my air conditioner on, so I've been watching with subtitles. In this scene, the guy puts down the phone. Let me check, see if we've sold any weaponized submarines recently. Right?
Beep boop.
The caption says "Tiddlywinks plinking" as he's digging through his little file cabinet or whatever.
I
there.
didn't know. No, I'll go back and watch. So
Tiddlywinks
yeah, I
plinking.
don't think I noticed. I always love.
For
I've been
tiddlywinks
getting like
plinking.
such a good kick out of the way that they're like describing music and stuff with
Yeah.
the subtitles. There's or sounds. There's so many good little blurbs.
I watched a movie the other day, and I was so grateful because it confused me at first. It would cut, then there would just be a single asterisk on the screen. I'm like, what the fuck? And it would randomly do this anytime a scene would cut, and I'm like, that's when the musical cues come in. I'm realizing they're not
interesting.
describing the like ominous music, blah blah blah, or like what's worse is when they will put the full lyrics of a song that's barely on in the background over the top of the screen. I'm like, this is really distracting, guys.
and I'm trying to also read the lines that exist at the
yeah,
same
yeah,
time.
like this is not necessary. No,
No, you
one's-
need to understand this is an ominous cover of an 80s song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the music is like kind of a split meaning. Yeah.
I appreciate them like emphasizing the vibe because sometimes I just don't know what they're shooting for. So when it's like
Spooky
angsty,
music.
angsty, ethereal music, I'm like, okay, I got it.
Well, one more in this scene. Batman is like, you sold this to P.N. Gwyn.
Yeah.
You sold this to P.N. Gwyn. Penguin? Really? And this underscores my previous point here that the Penguin is the Riddler in this
Yeah.
story. I'm like, come on, dude.
And Robin is like, you fucking dolt.
I want to see a hard R version of this Batman.
Yeah.
Just then, a rocket shoots up from the submarine and spells out two riddles in the sky. But wait, a riddle disguised as a joke. They make sure to say that out loud. And the answer is a cat. Great Scott. Special mention here to the squirrel with the machine gun, which is the answer to the riddle.
How was that the answer to
to
one
which
of the riddles?
Gordon says, of course.
Every one of these is of course, and none of them are of course.
They
which
don't
is
make
the point
none of them make
they
any
don't make
sense.
any
Yes.
sense.
I
all.
have because the beginning of it was in the sea for Catwoman.
Yes.
So-
C.
Yeah.
C for cat.
The logical conclusion.
C, the C word. Cunt.
It's woman.
Catwoman.
The joke in South Park where they're making fun of Independence Day of like the dollar bill. George Washington on the dollar bill. And like getting to some nonsense conclusion, making fun of that one in this. It's already being played as a farce. Like
Yeah.
just pulling my leg like that shark was pulling my leg. A joke. The Joker.
Yeah.
Like, just say it with confidence.
I
no
also,
one cares.
yeah, I like to entertain the self-deprecating part of me. Like they're proposing.
I like to deprecate you as well.
Yeah, that is so intelligent that's why. It's not that it doesn't make any sense. It would make sense if I was as
If I
smart
wasn't
as
dumb.
Yeah, if I was as smart as Batman and Robin.
No, this movie is honestly treating it the way that there are many writers who, when they try and write smart characters, it's very obvious to me that the writer themselves is not smart enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
you can't like that's not
They're like, whatever the Wikipedia page said, that's
Yeah.
what I'm going to try to.
that would not be
Paraphrase
the
here.
logical conclusion to this thing you've set up. No one would just assume that that's the one possibility in these things. And your character is like the best one is
You're like,
the
you're right. That's the only answer it could be.
Squirrel
Let's
with the
move forward
machine
with that.
gun. Ding,
What-
ding, ding.
What if they played this as like Batman is, oh, well, that means this, right? but it's so out there that they go follow this to its conclusion. I'm like, well, that wasn't right at all.
It's a real Carmen Sandiego.
Why would anyone think that?
Like, no, I'm sorry. And then Robin's like, well, wouldn't it mean the sea they were out to sea? Oh my God, you're right.
You're right.
They're on a submarine.
Yeah,
That is
or
the-
if it was also, it was like the combo of, it's your R-rated version where there's like legit stakes, like a group of people are about to be
all
like
get
lawn mowers.
electrocuted
Yeah,
and-
exactly. And then,
They go to the wrong place,
Yeah.
and then like by the time they get to the right place, it's just body parts.
but it still ends with like shucks.
No one could have possibly known.
This Riddler is doing Joker shtick when we. I'm sorry, what is this line? This Riddler is doing Joker shtick when the villains plot to attack the UN, or whatever they call it in this movie, and kidnap Bruce Wayne. Very over-the-top, giggly the whole time. Catwoman goes undercover as the Russian Kitka. They took her long-ass name, and it's an acronym now. And she goes undercover to interview Bruce. She says that someone slipped a riddle under her door on Wayne's stationery. She suspects the Riddler may be using his name. Bruce says, "Your jargon is quaint, Miss Kitka," and then hits on her.
Don't worry yourself with manly concerns, miss.
Yeah. Now, be an upstanding citizen and don't drink and support your police. But do take advantage of women when they come over.
Yeah, take the law into your own hands when you want.
The proper moral code.
Bruce magically becomes Batman on the bat pole. If you notice, he goes down as
Yep.
full Adam West Bruce Wayne and just appears below as
You just
Batman.
strike the instant costume change lever.
Yes.
Yeah,
On the way down.
I don't
Every time. He does it every time.
And
There's,
each time he makes that sound, it goes, na 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 na.
That's actually him.
That would be like a Family Guy joke.
That's his like theme. That's what he hums to himself as he gets dressed. There's one. I don't think this is it, but there's a scene where he does the same thing. Pole comes out, but he is in the Batcave for like minutes and then goes back up.
Yep.
But he gets dressed every time to like.
Yes.
Oh, he has to put the clothes on just to go into the Batcave.
That was a rule in something that we read or watched where it was like, Bruce's rule: no costumes in the house.
Dress code.
You don't want somebody to fucking see you through the window or some paparazzi with a telescope lens.
Ace the Bat Dog doesn't know Batman is Bruce Wayne, so you have to wear the costume in the cave.
I like one, Gotham City, California. Two, how this Wayne Manor, because you see it just in the very beginning.
Looks like the
but
Playboy
what this,
Mansion.
Yeah, but what this Wayne Manor looks like, and then just the couple interior shots, the way that it's decorated, like it's 60s swanky rich or
Yeah.
something, or
Smoking jacket.
yeah,
with, like,
the clothes that
neckerchief.
like him and Robin are wearing in the couple scenes.
Call me Hef.
Yeah. Yeah, but you like one of those like wide neck cardigans and stuff. Everything about the normal time style of this is cool to me.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin decide that the idiotic riddles are a threat to Kitka's life, and Bruce
Smart.
Wayne must stay close to protect her.
Wink.
If the Riddler shows up to make good on his threat, Batman says, "I'll bash him brutally." And that is my favorite part in the movie.
This is a Batman who, he does lament the loss of criminal life, but at the same time, I would imagine him curb stomping
He's got
someone.
a little Frank
He
Miller
does say
in him.
kill.
Yeah.
He says the K word. He talks about killing somebody.
I will kill, if you lay your hands on her, I will kill you with my hands.
And I will fucking kill you.
There was, I was just looking at my notes. I just want to go back to that scene where they decode those nonsensical riddles.
Yeah.
It ends with Batman.
I couldn't, with all this shit I had to write down, I couldn't bring myself to actually write out the riddles as well.
No, it's better for if anyone is interested in watching this movie who's listening and hasn't seen it, watch this movie. It's a worthwhile usage of your time. It's
Agreed.
fun. He's making a face now, Samuel is. But that scene ends with Batman saying, "We've been given the plainest warning." And that's, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's known. This movie is incredibly self-aware.
Totally.
Like,
That's like
They know
that
what they're
joke on
doing.
the Harley Quinn show. Joker's like, "The Riddler, the world's most indirect asshole."
Yeah.
On Bruce's date, Robin and Alfred repeatedly stop their surveillance from outside for fear that they'll witness them fuck. This is really amusing because, first of all, Alfred is wearing a domino mask behind his glasses.
which is the beginning of a trend that I love in this movie. But
Just
Hilarious.
Constantly laughing when Robin is like, Maybe we should give them their privacy there. I don't know. And Alfred's sort of like, yeah, okay.
I changed your diapers, asshole.
Well, and I think
I've seen your balls.
Alfred is kind of in on it the whole time, but then there's like, I don't know, the very last time they show them having this conversation, and Alfred is actually like, no, I think we should leave it off. Like, he's been cool the whole time, but
there
then
was a shot of just the knob, and someone reaches back and turns it back up.
Yeah.
And cuts to Alfred, and like, yeah.
Or you have them pulling out of the restaurant on the horse and carriage, and then the Batmobile is like right behind her on the street.
With Bruce Wayne's butler wearing a domino mask.
Yeah, so awesome.
Robin calls the GCPD to suggest that they shine the bat signal as a diversion. If the Riddler thinks the Batman is elsewhere, he would be inclined to go through with his attack on Kitka. Bruce goes to Kitka's penthouse and gets immediately horny.
Even before that, in the carriage, she's like, keep your eyes closed so she can like kitty cat Morse code.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, because he's daydreaming, and he's like,
she's daydreaming
as
about something.
We approach climax. I was like,
Yeah.
A lot of double
fuck,
entendre. If only
Laying it on a
our
little
mutual
thick.
countries could come to a more peaceful agreement. Maybe we can now, in this carriage, come to a more...
Yeah, this is like Poison Ivy love drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce,
Yeah.
like,
But just how he is all the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Meanwhile, Penguin and the other goons look like the Wizard of Oz flying monkeys
beautiful.
coming
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
Somewhere in California, or maybe somewhere else in the world, there's a closet, and on the floor at the bottom of this closet are the whatever 5 little miniatures they strung up in front of that screen. There's a little...
The little umbrellas.
There's,
that
there's
they're
one that
riding.
has like a little tiny Riddler and a little tiny Penguin sharing one umbrella.
So awesome.
Now, when they bust in on the penthouse, Bruce kicks their ass in plain clothes, but is taken in the end.
This is the continuation of the Domino Mask. These incredibly identifiable
The
villains.
Joker is wearing a domino mask.
And Penguin is wearing a domino mask. Riddler has one,
I
but
didn't notice that
I
one.
visualize his costume with the
Riddler
domino
always
mask.
has one, yeah.
but
Yeah.
in this movie he doesn't sometimes, but like...
Okay. Yeah.
Who else could you be?
Couldn't be. I wonder if that was the Joker.
We may never know. At the lair, they can't understand why Batman hasn't showed up to save Bruce. Tied to a chair, he threatens their lives and keeps charging them to no avail. They blindfold him, and Catwoman changes back to Kitka's clothes, tie her up, and she pretends to be kidnapped as well. So they throw Bruce onto the bed with her. His face literally lands in between her tits. If you watch that scene, they push him directly into her tits. And Bruce suspects they must be listening in from outside. And so he says something that will get them to frisk him, right? They come in, they grab him, they want to pat him down for
Like
weapons
many
or something.
successful capitalists, I have a secret safety measure implanted in
Yeah.
my outfit. So
Yeah. And so they untie him to do this, and then that's when he bashes them brutally and escapes.
I really love the fight scenes in this. They're ridiculous,
Pow!
but it's the...
Zip!
Well, and they hold out for the
Zap.
lettering until the very end.
Yeah. The big
right, the
full
big
on
climax.
brawl
Yeah, because
with
the other
everybody.
fights are just fights.
Yeah.
And
You're
and
right.
it's kind of cool because it's like kind of like
just
an
so ingrained in my
updated
head.
version of like good old boy fights.
Like a bar fight in a Western or something like
Yeah,
that.
but
where-
just like a little bit better. Like
Yeah.
plus a little martial arts.
Well, I think about that, compare that to
A lot of uppercuts and
Yeah, a lot of blocking,
Elbow
a
shots,
lot of forearm
swings,
blocking, and
people
counters.
like slipping straight down underneath a hook to then come up and punch someone.
Yep.
Yeah.
But compare this to all the in-suit fight scenes from Batman Begins. Like, those are masterful, and they're amazing feats of cinematography, and they're great, but like, just watching 5
choreographed
nerds,
Yeah.
these
dudes.
actors, swing around and like get their marks and not hit each other and do this. And every now and then when you see like, that's not Cesar Romero, that's some other guy. Outfit, whatever, that's fine. Like,
Good thing he has
it was-
that mask on.
over his face. I was never, even though I feel like you're going to get to a point where you say the length of this movie is a problem, which it is a bit. I was never bored, and the pacing of this movie was just like consistently entertained, beat to beat. Like, oh, that's fun, that's neat looking. Okay,
Then they also didn't. There's no Dutch angles in this movie.
there's tons of Dutch angles.
What?
Anytime the criminals are sitting around planning, those are always like off kilter shots when they're just sitting around a table.
I was like, isn't that kind of a hallmark of this?
The other scenes, not so
Series?
much.
I'm gonna have to go, but they didn't do it in the fight scenes.
No.
I'm gonna have to because they like play a lot of this stuff like really flat.
Yeah.
Because they do embellish it though on the TV show, if I remember right.
Oh, it's all over the place on the TV show.
The one that sticks out in my head is when they're planning. The four of them are in like the upstairs bar room, and they're planning whatever their next move is.
I'm gonna have to go
camera's
back.
just totally off angle.
Later, the Penguin tries his new dehydration laser thingy and disintegrates his henchmen into dust.
This is the first childhood memory I have of this. Of the two visual things of Penguin disintegrating those guys. No context for it, so I just imagine he was murdering those 5 guys for some reason.
Laser beams.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's very keen to note, like, be very, very, very careful scooping up the dust. He's like, all these men have families.
They all have mothers.
Funny.
Right. But I imagine...
As she's clearly dumping much of that dust on
Yeah, doing a really bad job.
She's in like a snow cone paper cup, and like 20% of it's falling out on the ground.
That's that guy's heart.
Yeah.
You won't need that vital.
That was a
brain.
kneecap. But I just wanted to comment. I imagine this was pretty advanced effects at the time.
Yeah.
The lasery flashing thing, and they disappear and replace it with it. I'm like, there's a couple shots in the movie. It'll be like, Penguin's got to swing his umbrella, hit this guy, and then don't move. And now get out of the frame, and then we're going to cut, and do these little tricks that, again, you have nothing at your disposal back then, and they're making the most of it.
I love that. We've talked about it many times on the show, but like CG is amazing and has opened the doors for some visual things that we would never get otherwise.
Yeah.
But there's none of that, like, gee whiz. That was cool.
Yeah.
It was a fun way. You just imagine, like, people having fun putting these things together.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that 60-year-old man who's been in film for whatever gets to do this stupid thing where Robin kicks him in the head and then they stop and then he runs off screen and then they turn the camera back on. And
Batman and Robin climb the side of a building, because you just have to have one of these shots, discussing why no one has spotted these colorful villains if they all convene at one spot. Batman says they're delusional drunks.
These are low people.
Yeah, and Robin replies that he'd rather be dead than not be able to trust his own eyes, which that's what Evan was saying is me. And I was like, yes, this is the core of one of the things I've never understood about why that's fun.
Drinking?
Yeah.
It makes you stop thinking about your things that you were thinking about before. That's why.
It affects you in a physical way that can be very relaxing and pleasant.
Yeah.
That thing you were worrying about, you're not worrying about right now. And then you keep going, and then you have a bunch more things to worry about. And
you know what else does that? Batman.
Yeah. No one in here is going to notice us. They're too busy consumed with their infantile fantasies of vigilante justice.
The lowest of people.
I would never want to live in anything other than this reality.
It's like a Magic the Gathering fucking, a bunch of tables out there and people are laser focused on their D&D or whatever. And they're like, look at these idiots so consumed by their drugs. Prison fodder, all of them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Bitches. Here they're talking about all these like all-American, proper, moral things, cops, but don't drink. And I also know this to be the time
Sponsored
where like
by Bud.
Yeah, but like this is the like also the I've seen things where somebody gets an injury and they're like, get them some brandy. Or they
baby's crying.
Yeah, exactly. Like why are you doing this?
I'm sure Bruce Wayne and Kitco were drinking wine or whatever in their place. It's like it's a classy sort of thing, so that's all right. That's not what we're talking about when we're
just
talking
not
about
these
drinking.
daytime,
not poor people,
hard-a losers
drinking their misery away.
Oh, really?
This is rich
It's
people.
a classist thing.
Batman climbs inside and finds an old-fashioned Looney Tunes bomb with a lit fuse.
Yeah.
This is the second childhood memory.
Yes, this is the famous can't get rid of a bomb scene. Any thoughts here? We all know this part, I think.
Again, just another fantastic self-aware that he keeps running into the two nuns and the woman walking the baby and the band. Like, he runs to a different part of the pier, and those three groups of people are there again.
He pauses and waits for people and takes the real skinny route where he has to, like, squeeze by.
In the behind-the-scenes documentary, they talked about how the script was no matter where he turned, that's where the band was.
That's funny.
And that the director came up with the other gags of, like, the baby geese in the water and like all these little things. And I thought, you know what? That's kind of a joke that they're still using if you think about like the beginning of The Flash with the babies falling out the window, and it's like this one's got acid falling and this one's got all the scalpels and this one's between two big desks. It's kind of the same sort of a joke. Penguin shows up dressed as Commodore Schmidt-Lap.
I will say they got a lot of play out of that one dock set.
Oh, yeah.
Much of the movie takes place on that one pier where there's like a restaurant, I guess. And when they go back to it later, when he looks in the window to see the bomb, the window is still broken. They're like, yeah, I guess the window is still broken from when he jumped out earlier in the movie.
Well, the one dude got... He
Launched
set
out.
the
You
trap.
talked
Yeah,
about
he
that,
set the
yeah.
The
trap.
exploding octopus outside or whatever.
Oh my God.
What was the...
He's going to jump in right here, and it'll catapult him outside into the explosion. Or like,
You could-
just blow him up here. I don't,
Can you say there was a mine out there? An exploding octopus was
but
the
they
way
never show.
Yeah.
I love all of that.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Penguin shows up as Commodore Schmidt-Lap in disguise, and Batman and Robin instantly look at him and say, "You're not fooling anyone, Penguin. Like, it's a terrible disguise." And he's like, "Wah, wah, wah, not, not me. Wah, wah," you know.
We'll test your fingerprints.
And
He's got plastic on his fingerprints? Yeah, I just went to the doctor.
he's John Doe. He cuts off his fingerprints.
I just watched
7.
Rocky 1 and 2 for the first times.
First time, wow.
Yeah, and so I didn't realize that Meredith Burgess is Mick. So connecting those two of them, like, you're a bum. You're never going to do it, kid. And then seeing that there made me just appreciate him so much more of like...
I haven't seen that in like 15 years.
I think the only things I've ever seen him in are this Rocky now, which I'd seen like that character in clips or whatever, but never actually seen his performance in the movie. The old man and Grumpy Old Men and Penguin. So not realizing those are three
I
characters
watched a
of the
couple
same
Jack
guy.
Lemmon movies lately. I wondered if I wanted to watch Grumpy
It's
Old
good.
Men.
He's great. And just like seeing, oh, that's Mick. I think they gave him a prosthetic nose. That's the one thing. And maybe like a fat suit, because I don't think he was that large of a fellow. But what a great performance.
Here they take the Penguin away to the Batcave, which is his plan. I'm going to show up with this shitty disguise, and they'll take me to the cave. Why wouldn't they just take him to the cops and arrest him? That's what I don't get. But he
You can't
takes
do that.
Gotta see
That's
how this plays
unethical. You
out.
need to test him to see if he's the Penguin.
he
You need to
takes
kidnap him.
He takes his dehydrated henchman, Dust, packets, whatever, as just add water, hot cocoa pouches.
Fun dip.
And he takes them to the Batcave water fountain. And
He's
they
like, it's
reappear.
clearly marked.
Yeah.
Everything is.
And it's always, whatever the machine that they're about to use is always right there. It's
Yeah.
always right there
Very
next to the
convenient.
car.
Well labeled.
Because there's only like 1/3 of a Batcave set. And so they can't ever walk over to another machine. It's always,
And like you
the
stupid
one we
idiots
got
watching
today.
this movie wouldn't assume that the machine Robin walked over and started turning knobs on was the one they just referenced.
Yeah.
So you do need a big sign on it.
Yeah.
to
How am I
actually
going to know he's
understand.
twisting the right knobs? Everything is on casters. That's what they.
Yeah,
So
there you
it's
go.
practical.
That,
That's
I mean,
smart.
they must have had so much fun, whoever's job it was to build those things.
Oh,
Just like
God. I mean, that-
toggle switches and knobs and LED lights. And
that
whatever, all that.
Batcave is iconic. Let's
Yeah.
acknowledge that.
I love
Did they have
the,
LEDs in the 60s?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
colored lights. Maybe that's what I meant to
Yeah.
say.
I love.
Lights of color.
Lights of
Okay.
color.
Oh my God. And just like in the Death Star, like the part of me
Yeah.
that grew up while some physical things existed, like I've used a typewriter and every sensory thing about
click
that.
and the clack of the
yeah, or
plastic
like
and-
actual keyboards, you know, keyboard buttons that stick up half
Mm-hmm.
of an inch and they make a sound. So a Batcave where you have knobs and clicky buttons and just like the Death Star, you know, the guys are in there like woo, powering up the thing
Yeah.
and they're hitting cool illuminated buttons.
Yeah.
The submarine set had the same feel to me. Just seeing the wall of lights going on and off in
Yeah, the
sequence
Riddler's
and all
like,
the things.
"Bruh."
Yeah, I'm like,
I mean, that's something I always liked about the Burton interior shots, whether it's the Batmobile or the Batwing, that he's always flipping switches and turning dials and doing
Yeah.
like physical shit in
yeah,
there.
like a machine that is not made for consumers. This is a thing that some kind of like genius inventor put together, and
Yeah.
you need to constantly be rotating this knob and adjusting this, and
but it's not just-
bat
it's not-
centigrade. And,
It's not Jarvis, though, is what I'm saying. You know, it's not just like, Bat computer, do the blah, blah, blah. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, flick,
they say
flick,
that,
flick,
and then
you know?
someone walks over and hits some switches.
I don't remember if it's this part or later on, but Batman has Robin hit the buttons to start the sequence of whatever. And he's just, it's a long clip, actually. It's like 10
It's
seconds
the
of him.
navigational bat aid computer.
Yeah, it is so,
Just
like
put-
it
just
is
push all
so-
the stuff.
Yeah, it's so dumb. It's the opposite of like now you'd show it from the person's face. So
like
whatever
looking
they
up from the keyboard.
Yeah, so whatever they quickly
You can't
slapped,
see that
it would
they're
look
hitting
yeah, it
nonsense.
would look impressive, but it's his side, and so him just like fingering all these buttons looks ridiculous.
But it's like a choice because someone could have been like, "Wait, can we do that again?" But like maybe try a little
More
harder,
intentional?
Like, make it
No.
look like
Nah, dog.
Let's not. Or maybe they had it in the editing bay and they're like, it just doesn't look like.
this is more fun.
This is perfect.
Exactly. So Penguin uses the water fountain to rehydrate his henchmen. They all appear and then immediately disappear with each punch. So they are one punch and then gone. And Robin is like, so where did they go? What happened? And Batman's like, they were reduced to antimatter.
What?
And Robin is like, so they won't be coming back?
Not
And
in this
there's
universe.
There's this solemn moment of like, I guess we've all learned a thing or two about playing with the rules of nature here or something like that, you know?
So out of left field. I thought they were just dust before. Why can't they just be dust again? Another
Nope,
antimatter.
they're dead.
Yeah.
Well, and that's funny because they just had the line about all of them are somebody's child.
Yeah,
And now they're dead. Like before they
Penguin
were.
cared more about them than Batman did.
Yeah, that's true. The villains were like, "Be careful," and they just punched them into nothingness.
Kudos to the writing. I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
And I feel like this is part of this scene is just to attempt to give the end some stakes of like, so look, so what happens with the dust if you're not careful. And
Yeah.
I hope you don't care about any of these people that are dust because
Sure.
it's a risky situation.
That's true. Yeah, they had to test it on someone that you hadn't even met yet that didn't matter.
I liked the thought that this is actually the beginning of like the multiverse stuff because Batman's line is like, "No, Robin, not in this universe." And like, man, this is either like
And then it cuts away.
a stupid awesome setup for like either a gag or a
Barry
sequel.
Allen's house, 5 henchmen
This
just
is
show
actually
up
the
and
first
murder his
post-credit
mom.
scene ever.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get those fuckers.
Those guys
Where
are
are
playing
we?
poker in hell.
They're in the Phantom Zone with Zod.
Yeah, exactly.
So they drive Penguin back to the city, each popping a pill in the front seat while Penguin is passed out in the back seat. When the car stalls, Penguin gasses them both, and they pretend to pass out. We think that they're knocked out.
Pick a side, Batman.
He says one side,
there
which
we go.
I appreciated because mall rats.
One side, Red.
Penguin gasses them. They pass out. He gets in the Batmobile and drives away, which doesn't make sense because it wasn't working a second ago.
Wouldn't the Batmobile be like a trucker's truck where it has like a complicated series of levers and switches to...
Nobody can get this thing running
Yeah.
but me.
You just turn the key and go.
But anyway,
It's a
so
car.
Penguin drives away in it, and then they both immediately stand up, like, haha, now we can follow him. And they walk over to a bush and get on the bat cycle and start tailing him, which,
Loosely covered with some branches and leaves.
again, so conspicuous. but then,
Perfectly placed.
so did he just intentionally, he like pretended the car wouldn't
Yeah,
drive?
yeah. I think he was
and
just hitting the brakes
He
because
stopped
Penguin
right-
was like sleeping.
right there.
He has like
yeah.
a button that makes a boom sound. And
Yeah.
Right,
He's,
yeah,
he's
Robin's
just
like-
like, he's just like fucking the clutch. Like,
Yeah.
look, this is gonna be expensive, but worth it.
like he didn't kick him in the face when he was on the ground or anything like that. Or run over a leg.
Back over him.
This motorcycle is also awesome.
Every vehicle in this, it gave me that feeling of the Batcave and Lego Batman of like, I just want all of these things. You just
Yeah.
slap, that's just a stupid looking helicopter, but you slap the bat symbol and some stupid wings on it. I'm like, that's cool.
I love.
That's really cool.
That's another shot that I thought was tight in the very beginning. The like the helicopter takeoff. They pull up in the car, and just the car at an angle in the foreground. But helicopters are impressive by themselves. But a lot of times you're just seeing like it's traveling a straight line or
Wow.
something
Yeah.
like that. But the fact that it pulls up and then like does a 180 and then like takes off in the shot and then the car is still sitting there, like it's so cool.
It is cool.
And as ridiculous as the helicopter is, I love that whole old-timey bubble dome
Yeah.
cockpit. Like, it's so
The
fun.
What'd you
car
call
is
me?
the best version.
Bubble dome.
The car is the best version of that. And the motorcycle is pretty cool too.
Yeah.
The helicopter, probably for practical reasons, just had to look like what it looked like.
Yeah.
And then they attached stuff to it.
Sure.
But like if you think of what the whole idea of looking like a bat or having bat looking stuff like the Batwing, it's supposed to strike fear into the hearts of people coming by.
Yeah,
When
they
you-
didn't really do that
Not
yet.
in sunny
this era.
California.
Oh, so you just were letting people know it was Batman on the way, not to scare
Yeah.
you, but like, oh, that's
Yeah,
the
so
Bat
the bikini
helicopter.
girls can holler. Yeah.
So Penguin rides away. They follow in the bat cycle and then the bat copter, as you mentioned. Now, from the submarine, Riddler sees the copter and shoots them out of the sky. Batman and Robin luckily land safely at a foam rubber store
Again,
with a big display in the parking lot for them to land on?
Because it could have been that, but the writers chose to go even further. It's the Rubber Wholesalers Convention.
Okay,
That's where all the rubber wholesalers got together to show off the new rubber they were making in a giant
It's
pile.
an outside demo.
Yeah.
Because nothing's better than hot rubber.
Before we get too far, they are on the cycle and they pull up to the helicopter, and the motorcycle has a sidecar. And just at the very last second, he's like, disengage the sidecar.
Disengage
or something.
go-kart.
Yeah, and it just goes boop. And I thought it was going to lead to something, but all he did was just break him off so that he could be on his side of the helicopter. It was like seconds. It's just seconds before they got to the helicopter.
You could have got in the same side.
I
You
didn't
could have
catch
ran quicker than that.
Yeah. And the other thing I liked about the whole rubber pile thing was having just watched
Pile of used rubbers.
Yeah, having just watched Lego Batman and his propensity to make stuff about him and take the credit for it.
Yes.
He has this line about, like, what luck? And he says, I did think I spotted it out of the corner of my eye. Yeah. Like, you spotted this rubber? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, so just claiming everything.
I
Like, that wasn't a
subconsciously
coincidence.
aimed at it and
Yeah,
saved
yeah.
us. So yes.
Like,
I put
what
some
an
strings
improbable
to get this
accident.
convention booked on this
Yeah.
particular day.
They wanted to do it in the hotel lobby. I said no.
No,
Yes,
no.
yes.
Bruce Wayne only looks at rubber outside.
He needs to work on his stand. A new riddle is written in the sky and leads them to the UN building. The rogues walk in undetected while
They took the abandoned elevator.
Yeah, it was the elevator.
right
From the submarine dock, which is there.
Super convenient.
Well, the diplomats all yell at each other and over each other.
Which reminded me of the beginning of Naked Gun, of the very stereotypical delegates. So, this guy's from Africa.
Yeah.
He's from the USSR.
I was yawning. That's why my voice sounded weird when I said,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Shalom, shalom, peace.
Yeah. It reminds me of being on this podcast.
Oh, because I'm Japanese. Sam's Jewish. And you're
Yeah.
a commie.
Joker dissolves each of them with the dehydrator weapon, which somehow does not interrupt the arguing until the last one is gone.
That's so
Commentary
funny.
on the state of politics. Still true today. Am I
The
right,
guy
guys?
I'm yelling at disappeared, but I'm so blinded with rage that I cannot stop.
Shift my eyes to the other opponent.
On the submarine, the Security Council members are in a rack of test tubes. All is colorful powder. Catwoman says they should ask for a $1 billion ransom from each country. $9 billion is unbelievable now.
Also
Yeah.
Let alone in the 60s.
It's pretty badass.
it's like a
Pre-inflation.
UN delegate. I know they're important, but they're not.
They're
Yeah.
not the leader of a country.
Yeah, they're.
I mean, and think about like Dr. Evil, right?
Yeah,
Came
yeah.
from the 60s and he's like $1 million, right?
Yeah.
So and it was always like millionaire Bruce Wayne back then. So like,
Yeah.
I'm very confused by this number.
Yeah, Catwoman's go for the
She's a
gusto.
baller.
That's
Yeah.
very hopeful of this movie to
She'll
be like.
negotiate down to $1
we
million.
need
Yeah.
But
to
that's what I'll settle with.
We don't
Well,
negotiate with that. Well, okay, well, we started.
We have to save these delegates.
War.
These delegates are worth $1 billion each because if they're here, they will negotiate peace.
Yeah.
Next year or two, we'll have world peace. That's
There you go. The Riddler relays the message for the ransom, and they're like, "No, don't make it dumb. Just say the billion and just fucking so they know
don't
what
give
we're
me any
asking
clues
for."
or anything.
But like they tell him like 3 times, like seriously, don't do. And like I'm waiting for Penguin to just be like, you know what? I'll write it. The Batboat approaches and evades all their defensive missiles and torpedoes. Instead, Robin blasts them from. So they're on the top of the water in the Batboat, submarines below, and they're circling. And Robin just keeps shooting them with this thing. I don't really understand what it is, but they're trying to lure them
Direct
to the
energy
surface.
weapon, maybe? Do they say that in this movie?
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
gonna bugger up their
The demented inventive energy weapon.
Coming soon.
But anyway, he's shooting them with this thing. It's rocking the submarine, and they're going. This will provoke them to come to the surface, right? So we can
By threatening to kill them.
throw down in fisticuffs.
another self-awareness thing. First thing you go to is like That's dumb. The vials of
It's clearly like some guy's hand just out of frame because you could never see the edge of it.
Well, you know, like it's so hazardous. That's granted they don't know what the setup is like in the submarine.
Put it in
the
a
fact that it's just sitting on the
suitcase.
Yeah, the fact that it's just sitting out on a table, but it's so funny because they keep coming back to it, and then by the at the end, it's like
people are flying all over the place. Better but that thing's just rocking back and forth.
As good or better than any Star Trek. Everybody go to the right. Everybody go to the left. And bang. Okay, now react. They're like,
it's so funny. It's like the people knew that I would be thinking about the vials, and so they keep showing it, and then by the time you get to the end of it, it's like
physics.
touching the table on both ends and still not falling over.
It's like 90 degrees over, but doesn't tip off.
It doesn't matter.
Batman fights with Catwoman's cat in his hand when they get to the surface.
Hecate.
This is
go Hecate. He scratch their eyes,
and then there's water on all sides. I'm just like, this cat cannot be having a good time.
I just thought that cat is the best actor in the world. So well trained of just like I mean, they say they credit one cat, so I don't know if there was just one cat or that's like an old school movie. Like there's 6 Hecates or Hecates, but there's multiple scenes where people are running with the cat, jumping with the cat. Things are happening. The cat's just like, okay.
What if that was like Devo's great grandpa or something?
Yeah, there you go. Sick. So there's a big fist fight. Everyone's getting knocked off the submarine. Catwoman runs back inside. In this shot, I'm compelled to wonder, Batman and Robin are climbing back on while she's standing right there. She could easily kick them in the face. But instead chooses to run down the hatch. Anyway, she does this, climbs down the ladder, and has the most obvious trip and fall because that's what they wrote that I've ever seen in my life. And then
because that's what a lady does.
And then her mask comes off. So Batman and Robin catch up to her and it's Kitka. And then Robin is like, but that means, and Batman's like, quiet.
This would be revealing.
Yeah, I can't
whatever
remember
you were about to say.
How he words it, but yeah, he's like, don't say that I'm Bruce Wayne in front of this villain, or she'll find out that I am Bruce Wayne.
And the whole like addressing his sadness in the moment,
and the way he says it, because it's so
funny.
Where he's like, it's just one of those things of being
Robin's
a costume
like,
hero.
oh my God, Batman.
The day in the life of a crime
Holy
fighter.
heartbreak, Batman.
My love was never real.
Yeah.
That seems excessive. That shouldn't be part of it. It's an unfortunate coincidence. That's all.
Is it the SNL had the skit with the cat lasers?
Yes. Laser cats. Yeah. I actually kind of thought when Bruce was meeting with her that he was going to figure it out during that, and then once they were kidnapped and they're like tied up on the bed together, and he's still talking to her, I'm like, he's got to know now. And then when he beats up everybody and he gets away and he's like, where's Kitka? I'm like, they're really not going to make him figure it out. And then when they do the big reveal at the end, I was like, you make him so smart the rest of the time.
Yeah.
You make him a supreme autist. That's why he's solving these complete non sequitur riddles, but he doesn't go like, oh, that's that lady. That's that lady.
Oh, she's lying to me. Yeah, that I can't detect.
The world's smartest man, except for when it comes to vagina.
Social cues, other humans.
The blood was down in his,
penis.
After
we've had a little penetration into this situation.
Reaching a climax. Oh man, he talks so intensely.
Jeff Goldblum stole Adam West's shtick.
Yeah, there's this the holy trinity of like Adam West, William Shatner.
Yeah. But if you don't look at the screen and you just listen, you could just picture Jeff Goldblum, not just the way he's talking, but his voice. Like West is not a Jewish name, but maybe he's also like a New York Jew or something. And so
start a campaign, hashtag
Jeff Goldblum as the throwback Batman in the new Batman movie that's Adam coming West. Out in the gun universe.
I meant like, to take him down, gather the pitchforks, like you stole this guy's whole thing, because if you come at the beloved Jeff Goldblum, I'm sure you get a lot of support.
Yeah.
The way that all these people,
Conan O'Brien would personally kill you, actually.
It's mostly, it's just the villains and Batman and Robin. Everybody else talks pretty normally, but these are the kinds of people that if I talk to them in real life, I'd be like really put off by. Like your intensity regarding everything would make me so mad.
No, hush.
Yeah.
I'm thinking for a moment. What could it be?
I have to go to the bathroom.
Don't
Why'd
interrupt
you?
me.
Can we just talk for a second, man? It's just me. It's just me. Come on.
Right here.
Again, the people I give the most credit to are the villains and Adam West. Their performances, like anytime Adam
Fuck
West
you,
would
Burt
say
Ward.
those, he's just
Yeah.
whatever. He's not.
He's good at punching his own fist.
This is like Barbie. He's just Ken. He's just Robin.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the skill or he didn't get the direction to hit the material right. But those people I mentioned do. Like when Adam West is saying those lines, whatever like made up science thing, and part of me is like, there's no way this actor knows what any of this stuff means that he's saying.
Oh, he does not give a shit.
He's saying it so convincingly
Yeah,
and
yeah.
with the right gravity and like, it's just, he's doing a wonderful job. And the villains as well.
The way that everything is like said in a way as if his voice is looking off screen, like and having like a really smart contemplative moment.
I know
That's like
exactly. what
yeah.
you
There's
were
like it's
talking
not
about.
like pompous. It's just
Detached or.
it's
uh,
yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
it's detached, it's
incredibly
weirdly
intelligent.
matter-of-fact.
Yeah.
He's like Sherlock Holmes.
After the Coast Guard is called, the Commodore emerges from his cabin and immediately knocks over all the test tubes.
Pratt falls into it.
And then sneezes on it, scattering the dust all over the place. Batman and Robin sort the human dust piles in the Batcave with a, as you were mentioning, the labeled machine, super molecular dust separator. Because I'm sure he had one of those already.
Glad we made that last week.
Yeah.
And here, Robin sounds like a Batman villain, asking if maybe they should tamper with them first. I couldn't believe, and Batman immediately was like, "The fuck is wrong with you?"
Yeah,
But like,
it's
Didn't we just
it's
talk
not
about this in the cave?
for
Don't play
us,
with the
but he's
rules
like
of nature.
mortals.
he's like, "What if we just changed him a little bit, for the sake of world peace?" And he's like, "This is how you get Man Bat, goddammit." No.
I thought it was funny because it was one of those instances where like I have a thought and then they address it.
Yeah.
And because in my mind, well, 50
Mix 'em together.
Yeah,
Mix 'em
50%
together.
of me was like, no, I've seen the thing. It would be disgusting. You just have this like 6-person, 12-armed sludge monster. So it wouldn't look
World
good.
peace.
Yeah, yeah.
They want to make us all the same.
The world the Democrats want us to
Yeah.
live in.
But I did think like, well, yeah, you could achieve unity by putting them all together.
That would have been an awesome cliffhanger for a sequel, though. If
Yeah.
they just blend them all together and like, what the heck?
And then this
it
like
cuts-
shadow, the camera goes up and they're like,
Oh my god!
And then the whole next movie is why the melting pot is a bad idea and we need to keep Christian values.
yeah.
At the UN building, Batman and Robin rehydrate the Security Council in their original chairs. They used a soft water this time because there was some explanation earlier that like the water the Penguin used was for lube.
Yeah, he
It's
didn't
the wrong
know.
thing,
Yeah, he didn't know that
whatever
that
it
was
is.
a hard water station, and
Hey,
that's why the goons.
Montgomery, I need you. Can you like just quickly throw together like maybe like a beaker or something with a hose faucet onto it? We just need something for this last scene. Maybe attach it to this
Dude.
post, and we'll put it up there.
He says something. I should have written it down. But they have the thing. It's got the water jug. They're standing at the water cooler, and the Batman on one side and Robin on the other side. Robin has like just a limp hose in his hand, but Batman has this awesome line about like having like a silent, reverent moment. And I'm just like, the image is the opposite of like what you're trying to pitch is
These
like
two
just
men in
this
these ridiculous costumes.
yeah.
One's holding a garden hose.
yeah, just like the intensity of this moment,
seriousness of what he's saying.
and the consequences
If we
about
fail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like rubber hose. Like, dude, these writers are the smartest people I've ever seen.
These guys must just be cracking up watching
Yeah,
the
but
dailies.
it's so hilarious.
But anyway, the water thing was because of the whole antimatter issue where they hit the goons and they disappeared.
It's
So,
heavy water.
Yeah.
what they don't want is to rehydrate these guys and then one of them bumps their knee and he dies. So once back to life, all the delegates continue screaming at each other, unaware that anything has happened to them, except the German is speaking Hebrew and the Israeli is speaking French and so on. They're all totally fucked up, and Batman is like, well, our job is done. Also, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Before
I'm
they
sure
notice.
it's fine.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. He does say something about let's sneak out before they notice.
Yes,
Like,
and then-
what the room of a dozen guys
then
aren't
they-
going to see you two hop out a window.
Clearly that they're
In the same
distracted
room?
by what's happening in front of them. That makes sense. But then when he says that, they walk right in front of everyone, in between the delegates speaking the wrong languages and all the
Go
cops
to the
there.
window, look out the window, look back into the room at the table.
Nah.
Open it in unison.
Yeah.
Slowly lower your ropes, and then climb down outside again on a bright sunny day.
The end? The
that's-
living end? Question mark?
Yeah, and I saw that and I was like, is that where the fucking band
Name
got the
come from?
name? It's got to be funny, by the way. I just got to say, for anyone who's older than us listening to this, who's like, you guys are fucking idiot. Because we're always like, maybe just back in the day, that's how they, and like, you fucking guys reading way too far into this.
It's possible, but that the burden of existing in the future
Yeah.
and being incredibly intelligent.
You know, both those things I can relate to.
Yeah.
Because I exist past this
Both,
point
yeah,
and
yeah.
at this point.
You just
and
nail
I'm
just
incredibly
right on the
intelligent.
head.
You're right. Thank you.
This is the second case of the
said
Batman Lego
nail
thing. Yeah.
and head.
And my note says, Batman bungles rehydration, still spins it in a way that makes him look good. Quote, single greatest service ever performed.
Yeah, he really pats
screwed
himself
the
on the
pooch.
back
If we can't
and
do
recognizes simultaneously, oh, we really did that wrong.
Yeah.
But it's like, no.
But
he's not
nobody's
in-
ever done anything better than that.
He's not in any way deterred. Yeah, yeah.
Because he says that if we can't do it, I mean, he says not to speak immodestly, but if we can't do this, who can?
Exactly. And so it's basically like,
I guess we can't also.
nobody else could have done it better. So I'm just going to say close enough. When these people get back home to their families,
Quick boy, out the window with me.
I have nothing to do with it.
The president is like Dr. Claw in this.
Is he supposed to be, is Lyndon Johnson the president in 1966?
He sounds like
like a
George
Southern-
Bush Sr.
like a Texan, which I think is.
And he's off screen. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like Dr. Claw.
Okay,
He's
Dr.
a-
Claw.
yeah, he's-
Gadget. That's what you meant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't see him. It's the chair behind the back.
And
He's
the
got a
one
kitty.
hand.
Hey, boys, we did it.
Yeah. Also, why does he have the megaphone to the world?
Why
One
are
of
they
the
watching this
president's
on a
privileges.
Well, why are they watching this on a press conference? That's just weird to be broadcasting this to everyone.
Yeah.
Whereas they watch
This
with
is the
bated
kind of
breath
thing
whether
that
Batman
everybody-
fails this.
And there's like massive crowds gathered to see if that one politician that we don't really know,
Yeah.
like who is the fucking ambassador
Oh.
to China?
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you.
Well, I want to know what that stock footage is from. Is that from some kind of post-war thing or from some movie about
that's
a war?
Yeah, I
That's
wonder
like
that
the
too.
only-
Is this pulled from something else, or did they actually shoot this?
No, it seemed way
I
too
think so.
expensive.
Yeah, the two things that seem like they came from something are the rockets flying and this, like the
scores of
parade where they're
foreigners
Yeah,
cheering.
they're throwing the stuff out the window from the balconies. That all seems like it came from something.
Foreigners, listen to you.
Ugh.
They're different, and I don't like that. It's not hard to
There's
understand.
one big thing that I don't like about any of them.
Okay,
They're all different.
They're all different.
are there any Easter eggs?
Well, I mean, sort of, but it's weird. It was like, what's an Easter egg and what's just like a. Did you see that? The
Well,
one that,
in something like this, it'd probably be a reverse Easter egg because it's like
Yeah.
what did they
well,
mention in the
things
we
that
saw?
other people have done since. Like
You
I
can't-
mentioned the Flash sort of joke with the babies, and
Yeah. You can't have like Easter eggs when you're the first one.
Yeah, they'd be like, remember that comic from World War II?
Yeah, you
People
remember
watching
that?
this
Yeah,
movie?
that strip
you're
in
right.
the
All the
newspaper.
Easter eggs lost on us.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah, I bet somebody watching it was like, "Oh shit!"
Well, no, Ben got that guy on the roof. Yeah.
Jack LaLanne. That's basically an Easter egg because what stood out to me is one, he's buff and he's wearing the thing that Jack LaLanne always wore, which was like a unicolor uniform, like short sleeve, like he's a trapeze artist or something. I'm not quite sure what that is, but
Like an auto mechanic jumpsuit.
like crisp.
Yeah,
And I bet he
More crisp.
boxed
But-
like he was doing curls.
Yeah, I'll sucker punch you, feller. Get out of my face.
If you want to throw down in fisticuffs, fine. I've got Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary waiting for you, right here.
Of the many, many like just wonderful things in the background, in their layer above the bar, there is a file cabinet that says metallic confetti, and it's oriented by color. So there's like orange and yellow and green, just
That's awesome.
for when the Joker needs his metallic confetti.
Yes.
You got it all already sorted out.
Yeah.
Color-coded?
Because God forbid you have a matte color confetti. That would just not be nearly as funny.
Undercut the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pros?
Everything.
I said the pacing. I mean, I was never, except as we talked about it, I do think Well, I'll save it for the cons. But like for the most part, the pacing is just relentless. I was never bored. It looks wonderful. The colors, the way it's shot.
I like this because everything that I was going to say as kind of a joke like I do when I think it'll make Sam mad is the stuff that you're saying in seriousness.
Yeah, I just love it. It was like fun to watch. I mean, the way those actors, particularly the villains, played their characters. Like each one of them has their different animal sounds or sounds they make relating to who they are because it's the Meredith Burgess bird sounds are the best. But Catwoman's always making cat sounds. And there's one scene where Catwoman and Riddler and maybe Joker and then Quanch or whatever, or Quinch, the one pirate guy, they're all looking in the shared periscope togetgether. And Catwoman's looking in there and she's going like, meow, meow. And then it's just a shot of him like going.
Turns and stares.
He's like, what?
Yeah, dude, it's so funny.
And then he's just in the background for the rest of it. He doesn't even come back. But that's the guy she slaps at the beginning. You get a shot of him on the flying umbrella as if he was an integral part of this rogues gallery.
Yeah. That's the head goon.
That's funny. I like
Squinch.
what Evan pointed out here, though, that with every troll, there's also a guy out there who is not being facetious, who actually did drink this Kool-Aid. And so this is a very benign version of that.
Well, I'm the Kool-Aid drinker in this instance?
Yes.
No, but it's not that I don't agree. I'll go
but
like
you're saying it as a provocateur.
Yes,
in this case.
I'm just trying to.
Also, I don't think that's reasonable. You don't know what those Heaven's Gate people experienced on their end. Maybe they did go to their space asteroid or whatever, and that had to leave their bodies by poisoning themselves with the Kool-Aid.
I think it was all a conspiracy from big science because they needed some more bodies to experiment on.
The Heaven's Gate conspiracy?
Yeah, exactly. And so they disseminated the information, and that's how it all happened. Like Jim Jones was a puppet. That's what I'm trying to say.
Of big science.
Yeah. So it's the government, Whatever you picture when I say the government, that's what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
That's interesting.
Unrelated note, here's a word
like
from our
Lyndon
sponsor.
Johnson, Joe Biden, they conspired, and they made this happen.
Yeah.
Whoa. LBJ?
Yeah.
JB?
Yeah, you know what the B stands for. It's Biden. Lyndon Biden Johnson.
Holy.
It's not Larry Blowjob? That hasn't been our president?
Is that Larry the Cable Guy's new persona?
Larry Blowjob. Taking a different tack.
He can't do blue-collar comedy tours anymore, so he's doing porn. No, that would still work, actually, the Cable Guy. Do the old-fashioned
laying cable?
Jesus Christ. Pros for me, I was going to say, I liked the duality of Catwoman's character. I liked that they played her as someone who's
like that costume. You know what
I do like the costume design on the show, and particularly, we talked about it a little bit, but the Batmobile being so iconic.
The cave.
But yeah, set design, I do appreciate all of the time and effort that went into that. That's pretty much the end of my pros. The music, music's cool.
Yeah.
Cons.
No cons.
Wow.
I mean, the story is like non-existent. It's just a vehicle to get from one fun set piece to another with some goofy thing. And because of that, the whole last section, like after they get the vials in the submarine from Catwoman and then the Commodore knocks him over, that should have been the end. I know they couldn't end it like that with him killing the ambassadors, but they should have come up with some way to have that scene be the end. Like they don't knock him over, or they save him or whatever, but like the last 10, 15 minutes.
It would have been just as easy to, again, cut that character entirely, or it falls out while the submarine's getting rocked around.
Or they rehydrate them right there or something like that. They just get the gun. But the last 10, 15 minutes in a movie that is like consequenceless, there's no stakes at any point.
Yeah.
I really didn't care about them like doing the science to figure out how to get them back in that whole everything after
that. Which is what you love to see, usually.
Usually. They did wear lab coats and big Dexter gloves, and they had their COVID masks on. They were like, I appreciate the work. But the whole end of it is unnecessary and really drags.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in my cons is that at no point did I care what was happening. It's too easy for me to look away from the screen when the writing isn't there. And that's what gets me. Like, I felt the story was really convoluted. It's constantly like, oh, well, then this insane thing means we go over there. And then this crazy thing means we go over there.
It's like 4 episodes of the show glued together for no reason.
Yeah, but it's just sort of this wild goose chase that doesn't. It never makes any sense. I guess, I mean, nowadays we're so spoiled with movies that have these elaborate plans that we get to watch unfold and all this stuff. But it just.
They had books with good stories in the 60s also, though.
And not just that, but the fucking dialogue. Anything out of anyone's mouth was so stupid. Like, Penguin was the example I gave earlier, but just like, nobody talked like. Show me footage of anyone else talking like these people.
They were
There's
using
no
real
way.
words.
This shit was just, man, it's killing me.
Don't blame your lack of vocabulary on this movie. That's one thing I won't stand for.
If there's anything that I'm known for, it's having a poor vocabulary.
Yeah. And the thing to the stuff, and then, I felt bad. And then good.
To counter your pro about pacing.
You can't do that. That's not how this system is set up.
I could have appreciated it more if it were like a 90-minute cut. I think already that's more than 3 episodes of a TV show that's cut down to 22 minutes. Like, because the shit is so all over the place, if they just simplified a little bit. Like, I'd be watching a scene and be like, I'm kind of bought in for a second, and then like, but that, like, can you just not take every single thing past the point of fucking, like, farce?
You want, like, the Snyder cut of Batman 66.
No, where it's twice as long? Yeah, that's what I want.
But much darker.
No, I don't think so.
Eyes are getting popped out of heads.
Like,
People are
I have
fuck left and right.
an appreciation for this, sentimentality from being a kid or whatever. And I know that the Batman we know and love today as a pop culture icon would not be possible without this show and this movie. It's just, even when I'm trying to like it, they just make it hard. They just make it hard. So yeah, I feel like I would enjoy it more if it was a little more trimmed.
So I started it last night and watched most of it, and I was like, I'll save the end because I bet you the end's good. To watch the whole thing again this morning, and the end was the worst part. But
you watched the rest of it again?
I watched the entire movie again this morning.
Okay.
It was a really great thing to have in the background while doing something else. Because I would just be kind of like, browsing my phone or doing something, and then like I catch something and then look at the screen for a little bit and go like, oh, that's weird, that's funny, or what did they say? Or just a lot of that. Like, for lonely people, if you want something playing in your house, I can't recommend anything better than this.
It's simultaneously something that I can easily space out and look away, but then also it's so ridiculous that you do constantly look back at it.
Yeah.
So I can't fully get bought in, but I can't fully tune it out either.
If I was like a cool hipster with a bar or a coffee shop or like a used thing store.
You just have the 60s TV show on the background
I'd be playing all the time. Yeah. There'd be 2 other things. I'll get back to you what those are, but this
That'd
would
be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I picked up my phone once.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I didn't the second time, but I'd resigned myself to probably watching it again. So.
I'm having to take notes the entire time, so like it's in my hand
Yeah.
anyway.
I did take my notes on this, but I didn't.
No, I know what you mean.
One of the things I really liked about this too was just Amber and I and Riley are like laying on the couch together.
That's your son,
That's your
right?
4-year-old child.
Yeah.
He won't shut the fuck up.
Yeah, my 6-pound 13-year-old.
Are you feeding him?
He has a birth defect.
Yeah. It felt like Saturday morning cartoons to me. And feeling felt really good.
Yeah, I'm with you. One Easter egg that I sort of...
I was like, damn, you're giving it a 1? I was about to say rating.
Despite all of that,
you just
I have to
preempted
be
it with
true to my
Yeah,
scale and the way
love
I
it.
treat these things.
Yeah.
These creative endeavors that these people pour their heart and time and money into, and this is a dog shit. This is,
hundreds of thousands of
yeah,
dollars.
people remember this with fondness. Some people, it's probably one of the few fond things of their childhood. This is garbage. This is just shit. Read a book, you
True
fucking
to
morons.
yourself.
No,
Yes.
one reverse Easter egg that from the very beginning, the intro where the spotlight's chasing the trenchcoat man reminded me of the animated series.
Oh, totally.
Where it's like hitting him and then he runs and then it follows him and then goes there.
Yeah, you're
like,
right.
Put me there
The bank
immediately.
robbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me think of Sin City with the like absolute black and white
Sure.
and then just the color treatment. Not that anything is ever solid color in Sin City, but the contrast with a portion of color.
Yeah. Ratings?
5.
Wow. I should have seen that coming, but still, I'm going to say it a third time. Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
I think I give it a 3. Honestly, when you said ratings without even thinking, that was like the number that just popped into my head. I didn't think about it before. I want to give it a higher rating than that because it was fun, but it's probably just a 3.
I believe that's probably the fairest rating. To me, it's a 2. I was literally looking at IMDb last night. I was like, should I just push it up a little higher to give it some... And Ange reaches over and tries to just push the submit button on my phone. She's like, just do it, you piece of shit. Because I'm fucking, I feel bad.
The one thing you have in this life is your honesty. So be honest.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do believe that. But
yeah, can you stop pulling punches for once in your life and tell people what you actually think?
Yeah, it's a 2 for me. It has things about it that I like, but it is just packed full of things I don't like. As a kid, I might have felt just like Evan right now, and it was so much fun.
Nothing. So I'm not implying anything.
But
as a child in the body of an adult, like Evan.
Yeah. If I was an adult with a child's mind,
intellectual capacity,
like my friend over here.
I mean, look around this room. Not at all the shit that's everywhere, but at all the Batman
This
stuff.
is the room of a child.
It still is.
Yeah. Yes.
No slide on that. But at this
if he was
age,
someone who did not have the mental baggage that you do.
Yeah. This is just not the type of thing that I look for.
I wouldn't have watched it for any reason other than this.
Yeah. But it sounds like you're glad you did and rewatched it.
It was fun
too. So that's good. Now comes the twist. Because if there's any reason that you have played this shit around your kids this fucking far, this is your fault. But I'm telling you now is the time to turn it off.
Abort them.
I think that's just called murder. They're grown.
They exist
children.
already.
I'm not a lawyer, okay?
Semantics.
Not my field of expertise. Okay, so I finished watching the movie and I was immediately like, I know that in a drawer in the file cabinet, I have the Batman 66 porn parody. Came out in 2010, so I would have been 25, I think. And
13 years ago.
Yeah. What I remembered about it is that it was basically no worse than the thing that they were making fun of, right?
You're a son of a bitch.
No, this is just
cruel.
a foggy memory of
okay.
If they were going to do a porn parody of the Christopher Nolan movies, it would be impossible, right? It would be impossible for the production value to match that, right?
Yes.
But I remembered watching this in my 20s, having not rewatched the original series since childhood, and going, this is fucking right on. This is actually kind of perfect. Like, what else could you take that's that self-aware, stupid, and do a porn parody that's...
Well, all the other stuff they did in this era, which was like a Star Trek one, they did a lot of like 60s stuff that had very iconic visuals and bright visuals. Because that's, to your point, I think you're a fucking moron. The performances in this Batman 66 are Shakespearean.
Agreed.
But...
Look, I don't want to say that they're doing a bad job. They're going for a thing that isn't for me.
Yes.
Because when we watch Lee Merriweather go back and forth between the two sides of her character, I like that. And obviously Cesar Romero was the blueprint for Nicholson, and like I totally get it.
My point about that is that the perfect example of how what they are doing is extremely skilled and hard to do is then watching
it to this.
These foreign people trying to do it, which is like bad actors being like, well, it's just bad acting that I'm doing. So no, it's not. It's a over-the-top, ridiculous thing, but it's like
on purpose.
It takes skill to do that and not have it look like you're a porn actor.
Well, yes. So I watched this yesterday, and I got through. It's fucking longer than the movie, so I watched like an hour and 15 minutes or something. But I fast forward at times because it goes on and on.
Yeah. Get to the point already, porn movie.
Yeah, at a certain point I had to go and do some things, and so I didn't get to finish it. But when the guys came over today, I was like, wait a second. I think there's a very short version in the bonus features that's just the acting scenes, and we should watch it. So we watched the 25-minute cut before doing this episode today, and now we can mini review that.
Well, Sam was like, "You guys want to take your pants off and watch this together, or what?"
No, I'll do that after you leave. But
sure.
I've gone this far without seeing a naked body, and so I'm glad you showed me this version.
Yeah, I didn't want to corrupt you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Sucks for your girlfriend though that
we turned the lights off. I just put the bag over my head. So
okay. No, it'd be like that Curb Your Enthusiasm where he's like
through the sheet.
I thought you had to cut a hole in the sheet.
But I will say, despite how there's a clear difference between the acting ability of those actual like skilled and storied actors who were in the movie we watched versus these point actors. If you took a still shot of this movie,
the production design is great.
It's there, it's on, and it's like true to it. Like it looks great, and even just some of the shots of like the Commissioner Gordon and this sitting in front of the bookcase with the phone in the foreground.
Yes,
like
that dude.
That's great. That's really good.
When they pulled focus on the phone from his face like that, I was like, man, they didn't do that in the '60s.
Yeah,
like that was a good shot though.
The point of that movie was so people could jerk off.
Yes,
but I feel like the most skilled,
also to laugh.
Yeah, to have fun. Yeah, just to be entertained. But I mean, like it seemed like the most skill in that was whoever was doing like the directing and the cinematography, because the shots, like
which for the record, it's an Axel Braun film. I only know of this, so I don't know but I think he did a long line of these parodies, and this was like one of the first ones. I think
it was fun for everyone involved because they got to be more of a show, basically.
Yeah, exactly, and. The costumes are fucking awesome. I mentioned when we were watching it, it's kind of funny that everyone has like an X or a triple X instead of their Bat logo or the Robin logo, but for some reason, Lexi Bell has the triple X on her belt and gets the Bat logo on her chest anyway. Actually, yeah, that's one of the only things missing from this movie is Barbara Gordon wasn't in it, because that is one of the most significant contributions of the 66 show.
Is it the later seasons or
I'm not sure.
Did she not exist at the time of this movie?
I don't know. But taking the Batgirl character, recreating her as the daughter of Commissioner Gordon was unique to that show. And so like huge influence from that, right?
That's cool.
And so then when we watch the porn parody version and Barbara and Dick Grayson bone, that's something that they're doing in comics now. But yeah, when you watch it, it's like the music, the fucking set designs, like it definitely feels a lot like it. And some of the angles and funky shit. I will say that whoever played Robin was especially on brand, and a couple of the characters, I thought Catwoman was pretty good. But then you see the ones that are really bad, like the Joker and Riddler, who I was like, I think they should have cast them as like the opposite roles or something. That was just insane.
Yeah, I don't mean to denigrate the acting skills of these people. I just mean, maybe I will. I don't know. But in the 1966 movie, they were good actors. They acted well. In this porn movie we watched together, the three of us, with our clothes off, they are not.
With the lights fully on.
They are of varying skill, none of them approaching the skill of these veteran actors in this movie.
Yeah, I think with even a little more editing, it could have been even more convincing. Like the Gordon stuff I thought was really good, but they let it hang too long and stuff like that. But also that's how the show was. It's not quick cuts and it's not a bunch of multicam.
Maybe if you got these same people together in the same production crew and said let's do a Batman parody.
Well, they're all much older now, just so you know.
No, but it's been then of and it's not porn. But we're going to do it
got it.
Maybe it would have been better. Because obviously they're serving two masters in the production of this thing.
I think I mentioned at the time, at least this cut from the special features without the fucking, it just feels like a fan film.
It reminded me of that one we watched that had the great production value and the kind of
with Kevin Porter, Batman.
Yeah, it reminded me of that.
Yeah, I forgot we didn't do that on the show because I didn't want to be negative on the show. I was like, everyone likes this, and I just don't want to burst their bubble.
But that's the perfect. I mean, it is because it's just not that.
It's that guy because the director played the Joker in that thing. It was like, oh boy, you should have cast somebody for this. You're watching the porn parody version, and you're like, yeah, somebody did, kind of like you're saying, just go. Oh, you just go wild and loud and wacky. Yeah, I can do that. Sure. And they practice it in the mirror a few times. Like, I got it. Right?
I'm as good as that.
Yeah.
Or I'm not, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It doesn't matter until I take my dick out.
Yeah. It's also weird to be pulling
the
from
real
Why is it
star of the
shaped like
show?
a question mark?
I like the pool of talent that you're pulling from is totally different. So the challenge of I need to cast this film, but I'm using these adult film stars. So I guess out of all these people who are known for something else, who's gonna be my Joker?
The guy did an okay Adam West.
No, he did good. Yeah,
it wasn't bad.
There's definitely a range and skill.
Yeah,
and he was up there.
I think it was Alexis Texas who was like the
bar
girl
patron.
at the bar who was kind of the seductress. I thought she was okay. She's better than the fiance girlfriend one.
Yeah.
Actually, one thing the movie does well is, with the exception of the terrible Joker, it's sort of, as it goes along and introduces characters, they kind of get less bad as they go. I won't say better, but they kind of get less bad as it goes on.
They're playing 4D chess like this is Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I love that in the beginning of that.
3D chess is not 4D chess.
He's like, it's rudimentary. You only have to think 16 steps ahead, right? But then when Alfred comes in, Bruce is like, can't you see I'm trying to concentrate, motherfucker? Anyway, I just had to include that because I thought it was funny. That is our throwback episode 66.
Hey, anyone who's listening, thanks for listening. Anyone who's been listening, thanks for still listening.
And check out the Batman 66 porn parody.
By Axel Braun. Starring Lexi Bell as Batgirl, Tori Black as Catwoman, and I didn't get the dudes' names.
Evan Stone as the Riddler. That's what I recognize. I've watched enough pornography to recognize him. Otherwise, I don't know the rest of it.
Who's Batman? Yeah, I don't. Oh, wait. I have the case. I have the case right here. It is starring Dale DeBone and James Dean.
That's so awesome.
James Dean. Okay, he was Robin. He was a good Robin. Also starring, I mentioned Tori Black, Lexi Bell, Alexis Texas, Kimberly Kane, Andy Sandemus, and Siren Sexton with Randy Spears, Evan Stone, and a special appearance, it says, by Ron Jeremy. We saw him as they're doing the wall climbing scene. He sticks his head out the window.
I will say that both James Dean and Ron Jeremy have had like serious allegations of sexual assault and things like that.
Yeah, Ron Jeremy has. I knew that one.
So watching this, I was like, wow, this is like watching a real Hollywood movie. Like, I'm having to think about this terrible real life thing.
You don't see him a lot anymore.
Sick burn.
So yeah, that is the, as it says on the cover, the most anticipated XXX parody of the year. Yeah, I think I have mentioned that on the show, and so it felt good to finally dust it off and check it out.
I think
to dust that off among other things that you had to dust off. Your DVD player is what I'm talking about. Because now you've upgraded to a...
No, I put it in my 4K player and it upscaled. Oh, actually, it did occur to me as I was watching it that the Blu-ray conversion of the 60s film next to the DVD rendering of the 2000s parody didn't look wildly off.
That's one of my favorite things about a great transfer from an older movie is because you forget that it's older. All those things of like when you're watching like an old transfer on VHS, you're like, this looks old.
Yeah.
Where now you see it and you're like, you can imagine now that that's a person there with you, what they look like when they were young, not like...
Sure.
I think it's easy to imagine the past as a black and white something.
Or super grainy. Or
like
oversaturated colors.
Like it's hard to remember that people in the past were living lives just like this, and it was full of color. They just couldn't capture it like that.
They didn't talk like the characters in this movie talk. They talked like normal people.
Well, I just watched The Aviator with Scorsese, where it's the Howard Hughes movie, and they would intentionally shoot scenes, like the stuff they did in the 30s, they would shoot it in black and white, and then they would recolor it afterwards, so it has that weird Wizard of Oz kind of effect to it, you know? And so, like, it is really interesting to just watch a good restoration of something from before your time.
I really like a Hitchcock film, maybe.
Sure.
And because it looks so good, like you're saying, it's easy to forget that it's old, but then you just have the little reminders of, like, here's all these classic cars.
Yeah.
People don't dress like that.
Even some of the stylistic choices.
Goes, yeah, see?
You knucklehead. But that's what I like to do, because then you appreciate
enough of your tomfoolery.
Insert racial slur
here.
Oh, that was appropriate.
Yeah, you're right.
Woman belongs in the kitchen.
But then you appreciate the stylistic choices too, as you appreciate them on their own merits versus like, oh, this is a thing from a movie from the 40s or the 50s or something versus like, they just chose to do that. Does it work? Does it not work?
And sort of working in spite of your available technology, right? Like they're having to be very clever to
the miniature submarine
innovate.
In this was wonderful. I love that thing.
The flippers.
I wondered about. I'm like, this has got to be a miniature. How are they getting those flippers going? Is there a wind up? Is there somebody inside that thing? Like,
the atomic bomb was already invented years before this movie came out, right?
I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, and I get all my history from TV and movies. Nolan. So
a small motor.
Hey, Christopher Nolan is an expert on time and therefore history. I did watch Inception last night.
And did you watch Tenet too to get the full Christopher Nolan time?
I don't like that movie, actually. That's the only movie of his I just didn't enjoy.
Did you watch it backwards? It's actually on YouTube now for free backwards.
No.
Not a joke.
I have watched, if you unlock the code on the special edition Memento DVD, you can watch that movie in chronological order, and it sucks.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I saw Pulp Fiction in order once. Same kind of thing. Well, no, it was the reverse, because it was actually like this movie could probably just be in order and it would still be good.
Yeah, I think that one would work either way because it's all kind of vignettes that intersect in ways, but like the crux of Memento is that the character doesn't know what's going on, so you don't know what's going on. You know? So if you just follow the whole thing start to finish,
Just
you're like,
that kind of
man, this guy's
story.
an idiot. Yeah. Anyway, watch porn, guys. Don't drink.
Watch porn, don't drink.
All right, that is our show. Thank you for listening. And if you don't get what I meant at the top of the episode, that the porn parody ties into Adam West's real life, trust me, we are not being inappropriate by bringing this up. The man was famously a bit of a womanizer, told stories of groupies in his trailer at 7, 8 in the morning. Him and Frank Gorshin, the Riddler, famously got kicked out of an orgy. Look it up. It's fucking crazy. That said, I mentioned on the last episode, I've got an eBay store. You can get signed comics and prints, action figures, statues, you name it, from my Bat collection. It's in our Instagram bio. Click that link. We will return to you with DC Black Label Catwoman Lonely City.